service denial, or delays arising from fraudulent payment practices, including mechanism for complaint, handling, redress, and sector-wide reforms by the Ministry of Health on revenue management and accountability in public hospital using digital platforms such as e-citizen payment. So Speaker, number 4, whether similar incidences have been reported in other institutions using e-citizen platform or related government digital payment systems, and the reforms being implemented on monitoring, incident response, interagency, cybersecurity coordination, and public safeguards to restore confidence in government digital platforms. Mr. Speaker, on to my second statement, with your indulgence, of course. Request for a statement on security vulnerabilities in the e-citizen payment platform following a fraudulent diversion of funds. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Information Technology, Communication Technology in a matter of national concern. Sorry, Mr. Speaker, should I proceed? Okay, sorry, I thought when there is change you freeze. Mr. Speaker, let me take this one again. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Information, Communication and Technology on a matter of national concern regarding e-citizen system vulnerabilities following the fraudulent diversion of funds at Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, through which approximately Kenya shillings 10 million shillings was siphoned. In the statement, the committee should address the following: whether a digital forensic audit or investigation has been conducted to establish how the fraudulent diversion occurred. Number 2, the statements being taken to strengthen the security, integrity, auditability of e-citizen platform and link payment interfaces, including safeguard against manipulation and unauthorized diversion of funds, inside abuse, and system-level vulnerabilities. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator for Nairobi City County, Senator Edwin Sifuna.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing on a matter of countrywide concern regarding safety standards at the Kisumu International Airport after it was besieged by goons on Saturday, February 21st, 2026. Mr. Speaker, sir, the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, through Annex 17 of the Convention on International Civil Aviation, establishes the international standards and recommended practices for protecting civil aviation against acts of unlawful interference. ICAO requires all contracting states to implement and maintain a national civil aviation security program to safeguard passengers, crew, ground personnel, aircraft, facilities, and the general public. The immense potential for Kisumu International Airport to develop into a major cargo and passenger hub for East Africa is at risk if political activities similar to those witnessed on 21st February 2025 are allowed to reoccur. In the statement, the committee should address the following. Number 1, the current safety and security protocols at Kisumu International Airport and whether they fully comply with Annex 17 standards and recommended practices of the International Civil Aviation Organization. Number 2, the circumstances under which unauthorized individuals gained access to and operated within the airport premises on February 21st, 2026, including any identified lapses in security enforcement. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, the specific corrective actions and long-term remedial measures that will be implemented to prevent a recurrence of such breaches and to strengthen airport security governance going forward. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator for Machakos County, the Honorable Kavindu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Request for a statement by the Senator of Machakos, Honorable Senator Kavindu. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health on a matter county-wide concern. Sorry, this was for another one. Sorry, Mr. Speaker, that is for Miraj. Sorry. Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry for that. This is the statement, a request for statement by Senator Kavindu. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing on a matter of county-wide concern regarding the state of the urban road network in Machakos County. Mr. Speaker, sir, Kivanguli Road is an important urban access road in Machakos County. The road connects Kathome and Mua areas and serves a large and rapidly growing population. Despite its significance, the road has been neglected by the Kenya Urban Roads Authority, KURA, and is currently in a deplorable condition. This is not an isolated case, as several other urban access roads across Machakos County are in similar condition. In the statement, Mr. Speaker, the committee should address the following: the assessment of the current state of all urban access roads in Machakos County under the management of Kenya Urban Roads Authority, KURA. Number 2, the plans for rehabilitation of Kivanguli Road and other urban access roads in Machakos County that are in deplorable condition, including specific timelines for commencement and completion of rehabilitation works. The status of the roads maintenance funding at KURA, including strategies planned for implementation to address the systematic delays in road maintenance. Number 4, the criteria used by KURA to prioritize roads for maintenance, including weather factors such as road condition and traffic volume, are considered. Senator Agnes Kavindu, Senator for Machakos County. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now, the statement by the Senator for Wajir County is dropped. Senator Kirinyaga County. Senator Abbas, do you wish to say something? I thought this was done under your instructions. Your statement, that was supposed to be addressed to the National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations. Okay, Senator Abbas, just approach the chair while the Senator for Kirinyaga County takes to the floor. Senator Abbas. Proceed, Senator for Kirinyaga. Senator Abbas, just approach the chair, please.
Asante sana Mr. Speaker. Naomba kauli kuhusu mradi wa kiwanda cha kusindika nyanya eneo la Kangai, kaunti ya Kirinyaga. Mr. Speaker, nasimama kwa mujibu wa kanuni ya kudumu ya 53(1) ya kanuni za kudumu za Seneti kuomba kauli kutoka kwa kamati ya kudumu ya kilimo, mifugo na uvuvi kuhusu mradi ya kiwanda cha kusindika nyanya kinachopendekezwa kujengwa katika eneo la Kangai, kaunti ya Kirinyaga. Mr. Speaker, kaunti ya Kirinyaga hususan maeneo ya Mwea na Kangai ni miongoni mwa maeneo yanayozalisha nyanya kwa wingi nchini. Hata hivyo, wakulima wameendelea kupata hasara kubwa kutokana na kuyumba kwa bei na ukosefu wa miundo muhimu ya kuongeza dhamana na zao la nyanya. Pendekezo la kuanzishwa kwa kiwanda cha kusindika nyanya alilenga kupunguza uharibikaji wa mazao baada ya mvuno, kuimarisha bei ya mkulima, kuongeza ajira na kukuza uchumi wa kaunti. Hata hivyo, kumekuwa na taarifa ambazo hazijakuwa wazi kuhusu hatua iliyofikiwa katika utekelezaji wa miradi huo pamoja na chanzo cha ufadhili wake. Katika kauli hiyo, kamati zingatia fuatayo. Kwanza, hatua zilizopigwa katika ujenzi wa kiwanda cha kusindika nyanya eneo la Kangai kufikia sasa. Pili, ni lini ujenzi wa kiwanda hicho unatarajiwa kuanza na kukamilika? 3, kama upembuzi yakinifu kwa kimombo feasibility studies ulifanyika na matokeo yake ni gani? 4, kiasi cha fedha kilichotengwa kwa ajili ya mradi huo na fedha hizo zinatoka wapi? 5, ikiwa kuna ufadhili kutoka kwa taasisi za kimataifa za maendeleo kama vile Benki ya Dunia au taasisi zinginezo, na masharti ya ufadhili huo ni yapi? Na ya mwisho, mikakati iliyowekwa na serikali kuhakikisha mradi huo unakuwa endelevu na wenye manufaa ya moja kwa moja kwa wakulima wa nyanya wa Kangai na maeneo jirani. Senator Morango Kirinyaga. Asante Mr. Speaker.
Senator Miraj Abdullahi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a request for statement by Senator Miraj Abdullahi, MP, nominated senator. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health on a matter of countrywide concern regarding the implementation of a policy exempting children aged 0 to 5 years from payment of medical fees at the Coast General Hospital and Coast Teaching and Referral Hospital, and the continued billing and collection of payments from families within this age bracket despite the stated exemption. In the statement, Mr. Speaker, the committee should address the following: the implementation status of the policy, including action taken to prevent, detect, and address any charging of under 5 years of old patients, the total amount of funds used to finance the exemption, including total funds disbursed to Coast General for this purpose since adoption of the policy, the vote head stroke budget line from which the funds were allocated, and whether the funds were ring-fenced specifically for services to under 5-year-olds. Number 3, the number of incidents in which under 5-year-old patients were billed and all charged fees, including the accounts into which these monies were deposited, whether the payments were received under the hospital's standard revenue streams, and whether any reconciliation and or refunds were undertaken, whether the exemption applies only to residents of Mombasa County, and if so, the residence verification criteria and documents required, including how the hospitals handles under 5-year-old patients referred from other counties, noting that Coast General is a regional referral hospital serving multiple coast counties. Senator Miraj Abdullahi, nominated senator. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator for Kisii County, the Honorable Richard Onyonka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have 2 questions, and I hope you'll allow me to read them consecutively. Mr. Speaker, on a request for a statement on the security breach and attack on members of the Kisii County Assembly, Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations on a matter of countrywide concern regarding the security breach and attack on members of the Kisii County Assembly that occurred within the Assembly precincts on the 2nd of December 2025. Mr. Speaker, in the statement, the committee should address the following. Number 1, the circumstances under which armed individuals gained access to the Kisii County Assembly premises and explain the specific security lapses or failures that led to this breach. This should include the CCTV camera and all the other stuff that is captured. Mr. Speaker, number 2, the actions taken by the Ministry of Interior National Administration, the National Police Service, and the Kisii County Security Committee and the County Assembly Service Board in response to this incident. Number 3, the long-term security reforms and the interagency coordinating measures being implemented to prevent the recurrence of similar security breaches in county assemblies across our republic, and to ensure that safety, protection of members of the county assemblies as they discharge their constitutional duties and mandate within the county precincts. Number 4, the steps taken to investigate the incidents must identify whether they have identified the perpetrators responsible for the attack, the vandalism, property destruction, human harassment, and all that took place, and whether there has been anything done to prosecute the individuals who perpetrated this crime within the law. Mr. Speaker, the second question I'd like to ask is, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 553-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee of National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations on a matter of countrywide concern regarding the reported death of Kenyan nationals in the ongoing conflict of Ukraine and Russia, and the urgent need for government intervention to either inform Kenyans, investigate this matter, support the affected families, and safeguard other Kenyans abroad on this war. Mr. Speaker, deeply disturbing reports indicate that 3 Kenyan nationals, Mr. Dennis Umbori Bagaka, Mr. Wahomes Simon Giakatitu, and Mr. Clinton Nyampara Mogesa were killed in Ukraine in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, and their bodies are said to have been recovered by Ukraine authorities. It doesn't seem like anybody knows where those bodies are after they were retrieved. Of particular concern, Mr. Speaker, is Mr. Bagaka, a former member of the Kenya Defense Forces, whose family says they lost contact with him after he departed Kenya on September 2025. Mr. Speaker, his family is yet to receive official confirmation regarding the circumstances of his death or support for the verification of the reports and repatriation of the bodies of these individuals who have died abroad. Mr. Speaker, the lack of formal communication has also left these families in prolonged distress and uncertainty. This situation has raised serious national diplomatic and humanitarian concern about the state's responsibility to safeguard Kenyan citizens abroad and ensure their families receive truth, dignity, and closure. Mr. Speaker, the families would like to know how these individuals were recruited, whether the government national employment agency played a role, and what role it did. In the statement, the committee should address the following: whether the government has formally confirmed the identities of the Kenyan nationals reported to have died in Ukraine and Russia, and clarify the circumstances surrounding their deaths. Number 2, steps which the government has taken to verify this information with the relevant foreign authorities of foreign countries so that we can obtain official documentation relating to their deceased and or their bodies. Mr. Speaker, number 3, I would like the committee to look at the measures currently being undertaken to facilitate the recovery and repatriation of the remains of the deceased persons, and in coordination with the affected families. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the families would like to know whether there was any agreements signed by these individuals with the Kenyan government or with any other body that took them to go and fight in this war. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Senator, no, the statement by Senator for Nakuru County is deferred. Senator Osotsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing on a matter of national concern regarding the status of the Talanta Stadium project. In the statement, the committee should address the following. 1, a comprehensive breakdown of the approved budget for the construction of the Talanta Sports Stadium with clear justification for the variation of the contract sum from Kenya shillings 35 billion to Kenya shillings 45.8 billion. 2, the procurement process employed in awarding the contract, including reasons for bypassing the open tendering system and confirm whether all the statutory requirements were observed, particularly the need for mandatory approval of the Attorney General for contracts exceeding Kenya shillings 5 billion. 3, the terms of contractual agreement, highlighting any provisions that may have resulted in obligations or imposition of heavy penalties upon the government. 4, the current progress of the project, including timelines, milestone achieved, and whether penalty clauses exist that disproportionately burden the government in the event of delays. 5, measures undertaken to safeguard transparency and value for money, including audits or investigation into cost overruns, procurement irregularities, and illegal compliance, as well as any disciplinary action taken against officers found culpable. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator for Tharaka Nithi County, Senator Mwanagataya.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me another chance. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education on a matter of national concern regarding the rising cases of student fatalities in boarding schools across Kenya. In the statement, Honorable Speaker, the committee should address the following. The number of student fatalities registered in boarding schools across the country from 2022-23 to date and obtain information on the cause of death in each case. Number 2, Honorable Speaker, the establishment of medical protocols to ensure that students presenting with health concerns receive immediate clinical review from trained health personnel at the school, and where a case demands are promptly referred to hospital. Number 3, Honorable Speaker, the committee should give the guidelines in place to ensure that the schools adhere to the established medical protocols and the stipulated consequences for non-compliance. Number 4, Honorable Speaker, the steps being taken to address the rising cases of student fatalities in boarding schools, including whether there are plans to review and improve school health policies and the medical protocols. The last one, Honorable Speaker, the committee should also check whether there exists a framework to provide psychological and other forms of support to the families that lose their children as well as the students of the affected schools. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. This is Senator Mwanagataya. More fire. Senator.
Then there's a statement pursuant to Standing Order 58 by the Senator for Isiolo County, Senator Fatuma Dulo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 58 to inform the House of a serious incident that threatens my life, my supporters, and the safety of elected leaders in this country. Mr. Speaker, on 20th February 2026, I received an explicit and credible threat through social media from an individual who has since been identified as a supporter of the governor for Isiolo County. The message stated, "We must stop Fatuma Dulo from progressing in her politics." Upon receiving this threat, I immediately reported the matter to the relevant security agencies and formally requested investigation into its sources, nature and seriousness, as well as appropriate security intervention. I was concerned that the threat was politically motivated and posed a real and immediate danger to my safety and that of my team and supporters. Regrettably, no conclusive protective action had been taken and had been undertaken by the time of the event that followed. 3 days later, on 23rd February 2026, approximately 12 noon, my convoy arrived in Kina Township, Garbatula Sub-County, for a public engagement. I was standing on top of my vehicle as my media team set up equipment in preparation for my address, during which approximately 6 gunshots were fired in the rapid succession from a distance of less than 200 meters from where I was. The assailants were 2 individuals dressed in buibui, riding on a motorcycle. 4 spent cartridges were subsequently recovered at the scene. The gunshot caused confusion among the attendants and members of my team and posed a risk of panic and possible stampede. In order to safeguard members of the public and avert further alarm and potential disorder, I exercised deliberate restraint and maintained my composure, proceeding with the engagement in full confidence that the police officers present would take appropriate measures to contain and manage the situation. Upon conclusion of my address at the Kina Township, I proceeded to Kina Police Station, where I formally recorded a statement regarding the incident. I have further escalated the matter to the relevant national security authorities to ensure that a thorough, impartial, and expeditious investigation is undertaken, including comprehensive forensic ballistic analysis of the recovered cartridges and a concurrent inquiry into the prior threats as part of potentially coordinated criminal scheme. Mr. Speaker, a day after the attack at a baraza in a place called Gafarsa, the governor publicly questioned my mental wellness and alleged that the shooting was stage managed. These remarks are reckless, offensive, and intended to discredit me and undermine the ongoing investigation. And the governor's rush to dismiss the incident raises serious questions about his own involvement. Mr. Speaker, separately, Mr. Abdullahi Boso, who has been absent from Isiolo County for about 6 months, recently resurfaced and made false allegation that I used state security agencies to orchestrate his abduction. During his alleged abduction, he was reportedly making calls to the family members from Kismayu, Somalia, which seriously undermines the account. He convened a meeting with elders to repeat this accusation publicly. This is part of the same coordinated campaign to discredit me and divert attention from the real threats against my life. I categorically deny this allegation. I therefore call upon the relevant authorities to formally investigate the true circumstances of Mr. Boso's 6 months disappearance and his activities in Kismayu, Somalia during the period, and take appropriate action thereof. Mr. Speaker, since 2022, individuals who have criticized the county government and the governor have been systematically threatened, attacked, and maimed. A group of individuals appear to be operating above the law, using violence and intimidation to silence dissent and protect those in power. The sequences of events, that is the explicit threat of 20th February and the shooting incident of 23rd February, strongly suggest a coordinated and politically motivated attempt to intimidate, harm, or eliminate me. I therefore formally put on record concerns regarding my safety and that of my family, associates, and supporters. Should anything untoward happen to any one of us, security agencies are hereby put on notice to treat these behind the threats and the shooting as primary suspects and persons of interest. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I impress upon Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration to take immediate cognizance of this matter and issues appropriate directions to the relevant security agencies to investigate both the prior threats and the subsequent shooting as interconnected and potentially coordinated. Impress upon the Directorate of Criminal Investigation to undertake a thorough, impartial, and expeditious investigation to establish the identity, whereabouts, and culpability of the 2 suspects reportedly dressed in buibui and riding a motorcycle who perpetrated the shooting. Number 3, request that the 4 recovered cartridges be subjected without delay to comprehensive forensic ballistic examination to determine the weapons used and to facilitate identification and comprehension of those responsible. Mr. Speaker, I also request that the social media threats issued on 20th February be investigated as an integral component of the same criminal enterprise, and that the individual responsible be identified, traced, and held accountable in accordance with the law. Mr. Speaker, I request the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and International and National Administration takes immediate action to enhance security measures to safeguard and protect my person, my family, and my team and supporters, pending the conclusion of investigation and ensuring legal proceeding. Mr. Speaker, allow me to quote the infamous prominent German pastor, Martin Niemer. First, they came for socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. And this is a very serious quote, Mr. Speaker, sir. If decisive action is not taken, we risk normalizing political violence and emboldening those who believe intimidation is an unacceptable tool in our democratic space. Today it's me, tomorrow it will be another senator, a member of the National Assembly, a governor, or any leader who dares to serve independently and speak without fear. This is not merely about my personal safety. It is about protecting the integrity of our institutions and preserving the rule of law. Silence or inaction will send a dangerous message that elected leaders can be threatened with impunity. This August House must stand firm and ensure that accountability prevails before such acts, before the norm rather than exception. Mr. Speaker, sir, Senate must stand firm in affirming that violence and intimidations have no place in our democracy. I will not be silenced, and neither should any leader in this republic be silenced. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Before I allow comments on the statements that have been sought, the matter raised by Senator Fatuma Dulo is a very serious matter. And since it touches on the security of a member of this House, I do direct the Inspector General of Police to investigate this matter and file a report with the Office of the Speaker in the next 14 days. Now, Honorable Senators, I'm now going to allow comments for not more than 15 minutes on the statements that have been sought, starting with Senator S.C. Okenyuri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to comment on Senator Cherargei's two statements. That's one on the vulnerability of the e-citizen payment platform and the diversion of funds at MTRH. Mr. Speaker, this is not the first time we are reading about loss of funds at MTRH. And these two statements are actually intertwined, but they draw us to a report that was given by the Auditor General back in 2025, the month of August. And that report from the Auditor General really shed light on a lot that is actually happening. Mr. Speaker, when you actually see that an internal person was colluding with someone, then it begs the question, who actually has the credentials of the e-citizen platform? And when you even go through this report, it shows you that the National Treasury and so many other people in there are not able to provide documents to aid reconciliation. So without reconciliation, Mr. Speaker, even if investigations are launched and follow-up for return of the money is pursued, it's very unlikely because then there's no documented evidence to support the same, Mr. Speaker. So the committee that is going to look into these two issues need to seriously dig deeper so that we know where the issue is. Apart from the systems, do we pursue individuals, or because I thought the system was to come to curb corruption, but it's now working as an agent aiding corruption, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, when you look at the case in MTRH, it took over a year for them to realize that we are actually losing money. This actually shows that probably in other organizations would be losing similar amounts of money, and it's not been realized because of weak internal controls. And maybe there are so many people in this chain of loss of funds, Mr. Speaker. So this is not any other statement. It's a serious statement which concerns loss of public resources. And we are talking about corruption and how we should eradicate this. So we need to ensure the e-citizen platform works so that it doesn't serve as an agent aiding corruption. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Osoti. Keep it under 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to comment on the statement by the Senator of Nairobi on the blockage of Kisumu International Airport by goons. Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious matter. I know it is a matter, when I raised it, it earned me a suspension from this house, but it indeed happened, and it was very sad to see a group of about 500 goons with the pangas stationed at the entrance to the airport to stop leaders who are to go for a rally in Kakamega from coming out of the airport. But unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, we got wind of what was going to happen the previous night, and we made alternative arrangement. But that aside, we cannot descend to that level of stationing goons and security officers at an international airport, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when we talk about improving our tourism revenue, we cannot improve our tourism revenue when we are doing acts that are going to scare away visitors from different parts of the world to this country, when we are going to make our important public institution be avenues to target political opponents. I think this is a serious matter that regardless of which side you support, it is a matter that this House must take very seriously because, Mr. Speaker, anything can happen, and tomorrow you will be on our side, you will be in the opposition, and you do not want that to happen to you. Mr. Speaker, even as I say that, the previous night to the blockage at the airport, I and the governor of Siaya, there's a similar incident happened at one of the hotels in Kisumu, Royal Swiss Hotel, where another large group of goons were brought there to stop us from leaving the hotel. And Mr. Speaker, even there were gunshots that were heard at that point while we were in that hotel. We had to find a way to escape from that hotel. And my concern is that even if we differ politically, Mr. Speaker, we cannot descend to the level of sending goons to private and public installation to scare our opponents. Mr. Speaker, we have sent our forces to Haiti. This is how Haiti started. When the government in power started using goons to carry out police operation or government operations, this is how now those goons now became emboldened enough to start becoming a problem. And now the whole international community is focusing on Haiti because of the disorder that is there. We are actually going to go the Haiti route if we don't take this matter seriously. So this is a very important statement that I expect the committee to look at it with all impartiality and fairness so that we stop this kind of habit and basically crude way of dealing with your opponents. So, Mr. Speaker, I support.
Secretary, the time per senator speaking is not more than 3 minutes, so kindly configure that time. Senator Joe Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity, and I want to make a comment on the statement by Senator Mwenda Gataya first, Mr. Speaker, regarding safety of learners in educational institutions. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say that having some experience in that particular field, in recent times, Mr. Speaker, public schools have been should be indicted for this, Mr. Speaker, because they have been admitting way more than their capacity, Mr. Speaker. And some students actually do not sleep in dorms that are, fit for the same. Some of them sleeping even in dining halls. And so, Mr. Speaker, I think when the committee looks into this matter, they should see to it that public schools, because they are the major culprits now, that public schools observe the requirements by the Minister of Education, especially on safety standards. Mr. Speaker, I also want to comment on a statement that was read by the Senator for Embu, Senator Mundigi, regarding a road that needs to be improved, or to bitumen standard, a road joining very many areas of Embu County, a road by the name Gandhi. But Mr. Speaker, we must be cognizant that the committees of this House are very busy. And because we see the President dishing out roads, Mr. Speaker, I think I would like, if you may, that Senator Mundigi takes the shorter route of asking this President, because he's always in the company of the President, takes the shorter route of asking for this particular road to be improved, other than bringing this and giving our committee on roads a job that he can do in a more brief way, Mr. Speaker, because he's always in the company of the President and the Deputy President. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to make a comment on the statement by Senator Cheralgei of Nandi County on the siphoning of funds from Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, Mr. Speaker, using IT. This is a very serious matter of loss of public funds, especially considering that there are so been reports that funds coming from from betting and licensing and control board have been going to individuals directly, Mr. Speaker. So that matter should also be investigated, because we cannot afford to continue losing public funds through some cruel IT operations, Mr. Speaker. I support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Manzo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to comment on Senator Gataya's statement. Mr. Speaker, quite often there are reports of injury or deaths from schools, secondary schools, primary schools which are boarded, university students. Therefore, when death occurs in such a situation, at the end of the day, no one takes responsibility. You cannot blame the teachers. You cannot blame the government. And in a way, Mr. Speaker, we must come up with a way of making sure that when such injuries occur, then there is proper insurance of the school and the students. There are quite a number, and they are in increase. That only a parent gets a phone call from school only to learn that your child has passed away. Even if it is in a swimming pool, there must be proper mechanisms to make sure that whoever deals with the swimming pool is making sure the students are safe. So it's a matter of big concern, and I believe the Committee of Education will really go through this matter so that we can make sure that children are safe wherever they're in boarding schools, wherever they're in school transport, wherever they are also in classrooms. It has happened, Mr. Speaker, and we have seen it on the news. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Senator Kenywa.
Asante Bwana Spika. Kwanza kabisa Spika, nataka kukushukuru kwa uamuzi wako wa hekima kuhusu taarifa ya Fatuma Dulo, kwa sababu seneta yeyote Bwana Spika akiwa na ukosefu usalama ni ukosefu kwa wetu sisi wote. Kwa hivyo nashukuru kwa uamuzi wako kwa kumwamuru Inspector General wa polisi alete ripoti yake ya uchunguzi kwa siku ambazo wamezitaja. Nashukuru Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, nataka kuchangia taarifa iliyoletwa na Senator Cherargei kuhusu kufujwa kwa hela katika hospitali ya Moi Teaching Referral Hospital. Bwana Spika, nilidhania kwamba wakati tuliambiwa watakuwa tukilipa, ama wananchi waliambiwa watakuwa wakilipa hela kupitia mfumo wa e-citizen, nilidhania basi tumefunga, hakuna vile hela zingefujwa. Lakini tukiambiwa kwamba hela zinaendelea kufujwa. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, wale ambao wamepewa yale majukumu ya kuchunga zile hela na kutetea wananchi wasije wakapoteza zile hela, ni jambo ambalo linaonyesha kwamba Wakenya ambao wamepewa yale majukumu ni watu wasio na uaminifu. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, kamiti ambayo itakayoshughulikia haya maneno wanapaswa waangalie kwa undani, kwa sababu hela zikifujwa unapata huduma hazipatikani, vile vile pesa, vile vile dawa hazipatikani katika hospitali Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo jambo hili ambalo limeletwa na Senator Cherargei linapaswa liangaliwe kwa undani sana Bwana Spika. Kuna taarifa iliyoletwa na Senator Murango kuhusu viwanda. Na kwa sababu sisi kama seneti jambo ambalo tunashughulikia ni gatuzi zetu, tunapaswa tuwe na viwanda ambavyo bidhaa zitaongezwa dhamani kwa vile ambavyo viwanda vitakavyotengenezwa. Bwana Spika, kwa mfano kama Laikipia tunapaswa tuwe na kiwanda ambacho tunaongeza dhamani katika ngozi ambazo zinapatikana Laikipia. Vile vile tukienda Makueni tunapaswa tuwe na viwanda ambavyo vitashughulikia mambo ya matunda, mfano maembe Bwana Spika. Haya ndio mambo ambayo tunapaswa kuwa tukiangalia. Bwana Spika, nikimalizia, kuna taarifa ambayo imeletwa na seneta wa kutoka Embu, Senator Mundigi. Senator Mundigi na ameileta katika kamati yetu ya barabara na kusema ya kwamba rais alitangaza kutakuwa na barabara kutoka Musiam Hill kuelekea Thika Bwana Spika. Na yeye mwenyewe akatia tashwishwi kwa kusema ya kwamba haoni katika bajeti hela ambazo zimewekwa. Nikashindwa kwa nini Senator Mundigi anatia tashwishwi na kutoamini rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Na yeye kwa hivyo si anatuletea mambo ambayo ni magumu, na yeye mwenyewe angeangalia taarifa hii, angeangalia katika bajeti aone kama kuna hiyo bajeti badala ya kuleta katika kamati ambayo mimi mwenyewe naivalia njuga Bwana Spika. Nashukuru.
Senator Richard Onyonka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll be very, very brief. I want to reiterate by supporting my brother Cherargei that the issue of the management or mismanagement of our resources using the e-system, which all of us have always said because of the hemorrhaging of our resources either from government departments or into government departments, has been an issue. Something must be done. Mr. Speaker, the other issue that I wanted to raise is that the same story of our goons attacking leaders or members of the public is becoming a matter that we must be seized of, because if this doesn't stop, something is going to happen and it will affect all of us. And I really pray that this House will take its responsibility and magnanimity to sit and come up with a final solution. The reality is that opposition will be having our say, and we accept that government must have its way. So why would anybody want to stop me from going to say certain things? We are just getting back into our old bad habits. Mr. Speaker, thanks for your ruling. Madam Dulo has been going through this for the last 2 years. It has been a case of sadness, pain. I've attended some of the meetings in our county where we are targeted as senators, we are insulted on social media simply because she's been trying to oversight the governor. I think this is a matter that might be settled once and for all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Senate Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to make a quick comment on this issue regarding goons. This is a very serious matter, Mr. Speaker, but I don't like the tone and the direction it's taking. First, I heard Senator Osotsi, who says he's a victim, and I sympathize with him. For all good intention, he actually wants the House to investigate. And that is the way that we should go, because we must nip that culture in the bud, Mr. Speaker. That is not a culture that we need to encourage in the 21st century in a country that respects itself. And I hope, Mr. Speaker, that at the next appearance of the CS for Interior, he will actually give a roadmap, because we are headed to the 2027 general elections, and if we have marauding gangs around as the main political actors, then it may never be possible for young people, women, and all the vulnerable groups to participate actively in our elections. Be that as it may, Mr. Speaker, I am concerned because listening to his comments, he has requested the House to help unravel the issue, but has already concluded investigations on the floor. He has said he knows whose goons they are, that they belong to I don't know which government, and they cannot be intimidated. Mr. Speaker, what happened to goodwill, a forefront, that when you raise a matter before the House, then you give the House the opportunity to actually come and favor you with the requisite information on what has happened. I believe that ought to be the tone and the language of us as leaders, especially, Mr. Speaker, during this question time, because this session of asking comments is just to add any useful information which you think will be useful to the committee to aid them in finding solutions to that particular problem, but not to use the same to cast aspersions and make politically leaning assessments of matters, because that will surely derail the good effort of trying to get to the bottom of that particular matter. However, Mr. Speaker, I agree with those that are saying this is bad culture that we cannot allow in this country in the 21st century. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of the statement by Senator of Kisii, Senator Onyonka, and jointly with the comments or the statement made by Senator Dulo. Mr. Speaker, let's face it, we are living in very dangerous times. And it may look very fashionable today for an elected leader to mobilize young people to fight their battle in exchange of whatever stipend is given. But Mr. Speaker, what happens is that once that battle is won and done with, the same people will turn against you. Mr. Speaker, assemblies across the country are protected institutions. There should be no justification whatsoever for anyone to gain access to a county assembly and attack elected leaders or even staff working within assemblies. Mr. Speaker, it is my hope that the police officers in Kisii and elsewhere then will swing into action and ensure that we bring this thing to an end. On the matter of Senator Dulo, Mr. Speaker, and I know you have given direction on this one, allow me just to say this. At least Senator Dulo is here today to talk about what she has gone through. It could have been worse. It could have been worse, Mr. Speaker. And I think a time has come, Mr. Speaker, that now the police must act as the police. They can never be seen to be taking sides on any matter. It doesn't matter who is mobilizing. It doesn't matter whether it is leaders allied to the government side or leaders allied to the opposition. It doesn't matter who is mobilizing, for as long as there's a breach of the law, Mr. Speaker, and that lives are being threatened. I just shudder to imagine what would have happened if those bullets that Senator Dulo is talking about hit the target. I just shudder to imagine what we'll be talking about today. Mr. Speaker, it is one thing to talk about these things, you know, casually and just, you know, tick boxes. Mr. Speaker, action must be seen to be taken. And I like what the majority leader is saying, that where we are going now, Mr. Speaker, in the next few months, the political temperatures in this country will be eating fever pitch. We must be careful, Mr. Speaker, that we will have an election or a campaign where Senator Cherargei will sell his policies, if he has any, freely anywhere in the country, and Senator Wambua will be allowed to sell his policies anywhere in the country as well, Mr. Speaker. That is the country that we want to build. Not a country where When people don't agree with you, then they physically manhandle you. Mr. Speaker, that cannot be allowed in this country.
Senator Cherenke, Senator Fernandi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have policies. I want to confirm to Senator Wambua. He should just be keen on what we are saying. Mr. Speaker, issue of Russia, Ukraine. Mr. Speaker, I want to appeal to the government because I was just cross-checking that the country has what we call Kenya Diaspora Policy 2024, which is supposed to work on repatriation of bodies, issues of in-roll cost, issues of transportation of bodies. Mr. Speaker, I want to call upon the Minister and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to do their job because the policy is in place. The Russian-Ukraine fatalities, Mr. Speaker, is to allow, there are so many ways on this matter can be handled once and for all, Mr. Speaker. So I want to appeal to Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi to be on top of the game, implement the Kenya Diaspora Policy of 2024. It is catered for, it is budgeted for, Mr. Speaker. It is asked to give the action process on how we can help Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, secondly and finally, is to appeal to NEA, National Employment Authority, to ban all agencies that are transporting Kenyans to Russia, Mr. Speaker, to fight. That is the only thing, Mr. Speaker, and we can't to ask DCI to apprehend anybody who is taking Kenyans or labor agencies that are going abroad, Mr. Speaker. Finally, on the issue of Talanta Sports, 11 billion, Mr. Speaker, I want to appeal to the committee to invite the immediate former sports minister, who is the current Minister of Interior, to appear before the committee because I heard what Honorable Ababu Namwamba said. So CS Murkomen must appear before that committee and tell us what happened to 11 billion difference, and he must be held accountable on it, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I support.
Senator Faki.
Asante Speaker kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia taarifa mbili ambao moja ni ya Senator Dulo na ya pili ni ya Senator Miraji. Mheshimiwa Speaker, mimi pia najiunga na maseneta wenzangu kusikitishka kwa hali ambayo Senator Dulo ilimkuta hivi karibuni. Mheshimiwa Speaker, usalama wa Wakenya wote na usalama wa viongozi wao, Mheshimiwa Speaker, ni jambo la muhimu sana ambalo serikali lazima ilizingatie. Watu kuzurura na bunduki na silaha nyingine ambazo zinaweza kuharibu maisha kwa nchi yetu, Mheshimiwa Speaker, ni jambo ambalo ni la kusikitisha, hususan wakati tunatenga fedha nyingi kwenda katika masuala ya ulinzi na usalama. Mheshimiwa Speaker, swala la pili ni taarifa iliyoletwa na Senator Miraji kuhusiana na kunyimwa huduma kwa watoto walio chini ya miaka 5. Mheshimiwa Speaker, katiba inasema kiongozi wa wengi tuko katika bunge.
Senator Korir.
Yes. Mheshimiwa Speaker, swala la matibabu kwa watoto walio chini ya miaka 5 ni swala la kikatiba. Katika katiba ya Kenya, Mheshimiwa Speaker, katika kifungu cha 43 inasema kwamba watoto wana haki ya kupata matibabu kwa standard ya juu kabisa, kwa hali ya juu kabisa. Mheshimiwa Speaker, kifungu hicho pia kimerudiwa katika kifungu cha 16 cha sheria ya watoto wanaposema kwa watoto wanapaswa kupawa matibabu ya hali ya juu kabisa. Kwa Mheshimiwa Speaker, kuzuiliwa watoto kupata huduma kwa sababu labda anatoka kaunti nyingine ama mzazi wake hana kadi ya kura ya kaunti ya Mombasa ama kaunti nyingine yoyote, Mheshimiwa Speaker, hiyo ni kukeuka katiba na pia ni kukeuka sheria. Mheshimiwa Speaker, hivi majuzi kuna mtoto wa chini ya miaka 5 alifariki katika hospitali kuu ya Makadara Mombasa, na ilichukua siku 30 ndio mtoto yule kupewa wazazi ili aende akazikwe. Mheshimiwa Speaker, hilo ni jambo la kusikitisha, na kwa hivyo naunga mkono taarifa hii, na tungependa kamati ya afya, kwa sababu siku zingine wamekataa naona bado inawaka hapa, bado mzima.
Now, honorable senators, have you concluded? Okay, conclude your thoughts.
Kwa sababu kamati ya afya mara nyingi tukizungumzia masuala ya Mombasa huwa wanayapiga chenga na hawataki kuja Mombasa kuweza kufanya uchunguzi wa kisawasawa. Kwa Mheshimiwa Spika, naomba kamati hii iliangazie swala hii kwa ukamilifu. Asante.
Now, honorable senators, we have actually expended the 15 minutes allowable under this standing order, and therefore we will move to the next order. Clerk, proceed, call the next order, please. Now, honorable senators, we will defer order number 8 and 9 and straight away go to order number 10.
Order number 10, the Cultural Bill, National Assembly Bills number 12 of 2024. Second reading, resumption of debate.
Now, the interruption of debate on Wednesday, Senator Manzo had the floor and had a balance of 11 minutes. You may proceed, Honorable Senator.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the culture bill originates from Article 11 of the Constitution, which recognizes cultures as the foundation of the nation and as the cumulative civilization of the Kenyan people and nation. And this particular one is pursuant, this particular legal proposal, which should have been done as early as 2010, when the new constitution came into force, is under 2A, which is promote all forms of national and cultural expression through literature, the arts, traditional celebrations, science, communication, information, mass media, publication, libraries, and other cultural heritages. Mr. Speaker, my contribution stems from that in the African culture, there is science, Mr. Speaker. The traditional culture had a way of medication. In fact, one of the things which is mind-boggling, the Maasai people live with snakes just like the Kambas do. And the Maasai have a way of treating a snake bite, which is traditional, and that is science, Mr. Speaker, which should be preserved, and which, probably should be taught other communities, so that that particular science is sourced. There are quite a number of other sciences which are culturally developed, Mr. Speaker, and they need to be preserved. I'm aware when I was growing up in Makueni, my grandmother knew some medicines. She knew what herb you will chew the root and your stomachache is gone. She knew what herb to chew and a flu is gone. But now no one has kept this science alive. It's not been preserved. And I think it's very, very important these cultures be preserved. The Constitution is talking about libraries. Probably we should have a library of each particular culture. When you go to Washington, D.C., you find there are libraries which go into history. You find there are museums which deal with certain aspects of development. And therefore, if we museum our culture so that the traditional dresses of different cultural communities are preserved and they are known, and in fact encouraged and practiced, so that during national days, Mr. Speaker, we should actually wear our cultural heritage dresses. It's a time we are trying to come up with the actual, official combat dress. And that research is going on so that we could have an identity of that nature. You have seen heavy, very serious culture of the Kalejins, culture of the Ogieks, culture of Somalis, all this cultural heritage. As the Swahili saying go, mwachamila ni mtumwa, we should not be slaves of other cultures. Mr. Speaker, when I attended the 2008 Olympics in China, the Chinese president spoke to us in his language, and it was up to whoever you are near who can interpret Chinese language, then you will follow what the speech was about. And I think we should be proud of our languages. They should be the ones used to teach in universities, in science, in mathematics, in geography. So that, Mr. Speaker, there are countries who do the same. In Germany, there are languages, there are subjects which are taught purely in Germany. In India, and many other places. So, Mr. Speaker, this law is very important, although it's been developed late. And what I'm focusing on is, once it is done, and probably we could make further amendments to make it potent and make it better, that we preserve all the gazetted cultures of Kenya. Because our diversion, our differences in cultures even strengthen us better, so that even children can learn. When I went to primary school, I was taught Kamba. It's no longer a subject in schools today. So I can read a Kamba Bible and I can write fluently in Kamba. But that's no longer in the curriculum, Mr. Speaker. So the children who are growing now, they are only taught Swahili and English. And English is a foreign culture, Mr. Speaker. So we need to preserve, and this can be best done through the counties, the county governments, because different counties carry different cultures. In Nairobi, we used to have the traditional arts and the culture, preservation at the Bomas of Kenya. I don't know what's happening now because there is a very big modern hotel being built there. I still believe these cultures should be retained. We should know and learn and be happy of the Giriama culture, Pokomo culture, Dinko culture, Kamba culture, Kalenjin culture, Luya culture, the bullfighting. It should not come to an end, Mr. Speaker. We should be having that sort of thing. And I think this is a very important piece of legislation. Should be promoted through the counties. Instead of what we are seeing in some of these counties, people, politicians taking at each other. They should be busy building the traditional culture. Mr. Speaker, which was the African traditional cultures were of very honest people. And this, Mr. Speaker, was done when King Leopold II went to Congo, where most of us came from, especially the Bantu. He found these people very honest, and they had to come up with a strategy to spoil their way of doing things. Mr. Speaker, in the Kamba culture, you don't steal from anyone. You don't steal, things which you have found left somewhere. People, they know that you should not take what does not belong to you. There are even myths, Mr. Speaker, which should be demystified. The other day, I was contributing, Senator Kenya was asking me about the myth of the Kamba community and some communities in the coast, where you actually don't steal somebody's wife. They have a way of their science which protects. And Mr. Speaker, some of these myths should be demystified. And if somebody is caught, they pay a very heavy fine. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we had a member of parliament from the coast who said he knew about that medicine. And that's why he sits comfortably in Nairobi, because he knows nobody will steal his own thing in the coast, whether it's a goat or whatever it is. You catch the person, Mr. Speaker. So these myths should also be demystified. And if there is any science associated with it, then, Mr. Speaker, this science should be preserved. A lot of research done on it, so that it can be one of the things, Mr. Speaker, we can be proud of. Let me conclude by saying, when Moses went to Pharaoh and laid down his staff and it became a snake, the Pharaoh also called his people, and they could also do similar, science. But to show that God is mightier than the other gods, Moses' snake swallowed the other snakes. And in fact, snakes do swallow snakes. Those who have seen it in the forests. And therefore, this science, this traditional...
What is your point of order, Senator, for Mombasa?
kumtatiza seneta wa Makueni, lakini amezungumza mambo hapa ambayo ni ya kutamausha. Hapa katika hili bunge kwa sasa tuna maseneta watatu pamoja na spika ambao watoka katika maeneo ya Pwani, na spika amesema na mheshimiwa Maanzo amesema kwamba kuna mbunge wa Pwani ambaye alikuwa hana wasiwasi kwa sababu alikuwa ana miti fulani ambayo anatumia ambayo bibi yake hawezi kumwendea kinyume. Sisi tunajua mambo ya Kamutini, mambo ambayo yako Kitui, Makueni, Machakos na kwa kwingineko. Je, ni sawa Mheshimiwa Spika kutoa maneno ya bila ya kuweza kuthibitisha ni mbunge gani? Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Manzo, ikiwa huna ushahidi tafadhali ondosha matamshi hayo na uendelee kumaliza hotuba yako.
Yes, sir. Mr. Speaker, I say they are myths. They are myths. I have never, in combat they are there, and I will be very happy if somebody demystified. I only hear, and I wish, Mr. Speaker, I can also, these myths can be demystified.
Umesema kwamba kuna mbunge wa Pwani.
Alikuwa mbunge, sasa sio mbunge tena, rafiki yangu, ambaye aliniambia, that's why he's pretty in Nairobi.
Maliza hoja yako.
Alisema ya kwamba Mr. Speaker, haya maneno ni muhimu sana yafanyiwe uchunguzi. Wale wazee wa zamani ambao wanaelewa hii sayansi iweze kuhifadhiwa, ya kutibu watu, ya kutibu nyoka, ya kutibu wizi. Kule Ukambani wakati mwingine nasikia wale, kuna wazee uwezi iba mali yao hata kama ni ng'ombe. Atasema yule aliiba ng'ombe rudisha. The next time, Mr. Speaker, somebody is eating grass. Whoever is a
Senator Manzo, can you choose your language?
Just English, Mr. Speaker, my apologies. Therefore, this is what happens with this science, and through this act of parliament, we want to know the research, the myths, the truths, the facts, and what best can make our cultures better, preserved, and for the benefit of the people. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mngatana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to support this bill. Mr. Speaker, a few months ago, the people in Itsoe village practiced a known Pokomo tradition where women, if they feel that a fellow woman or the decency of a woman has been attacked, they would gather around the young man or whoever and practice a culture which we call kufunya, which means they would administer punishment by pinching that person. Pinching, it's like a mob justice of sorts. And this would happen if a young man knows that, for example, a woman is giving birth in such a place, in a particular place, and you approach it. You risk that kind of punishment. Mr. Speaker, when that traditional punishment was administered on a person, somebody decided to go to court. Somebody decided to punish a whole village because they were practicing their culture. Mr. Speaker, our constitution, the new constitution that we created, said that we must put in a bill, and this bill is supposed to fill in the gap in the culture area. Mr. Speaker, up to now, there has been no bill that has come to make reality of our cultures, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, what happens is the European culture, because a person like that gets a P3 and start harassing an entire village because they were practicing a culture. Mr. Speaker, I want to state it before this House that it cannot be that the culture of the European is superior to the culture of the African man. We knew, Mr. Speaker, what was good for us. We knew. And Mr. Speaker, that case is in court, and I'm paying close attention to what is happening. Because what they did, they picked 1-2 people and decided these are going to pay the price for the entire cultural practice. Mr. Speaker, if this law was in place, it would be able to protect people who are exercising culture, upholding African culture in a manner that keeps society together. Mr. Speaker, amongst the Pokomo, if you do not participate in the burial of other people, if you are never there to dig the graves of other people, when their families lose their loved ones, when your time comes, you will also not be supported. You will be expected to go out and look for those other people who you think are more important than the villagers to help you dig. So you have to go outside and incur that expense. If you offend the village, you are the village goon or the village witch person, or what do you call the wizard, who is hurting people. And people have information that you're the one. There was something about throwing you out of the entire place. You are not allowed even to access your own house, Mr. Speaker. And these cultures kept our people together. They kept our people bound together. They created boundaries and good behavior for our people. And Mr. Speaker, to date, some of the people, the way they behave, the only way to deal with them is under cultural practices. Mr. Speaker, it was time to have this bill. Aside from practices that keep the country, the cultures and the people together, there was science around our people in those days. I sat with an old Orma man, and he was telling me, in their community in Tana River, they are able to tell when the rains are coming, looking at the insects who are moving and in which direction, and if the rains will be heavy or the rains will be scarce. They are also able to look and tell you that we are going to have a dry period. Therefore, let us shift the animals to this other side. Mr. Speaker, this science is a science that needs to be documented. Our people had hubs. Our people had ways of keeping the community safe, predicting the future. This law that we are passing today in the Senate is fundamental. And our Constitution got it right when they said that we need to document these things. Mr. Speaker, the children we are bringing up nowadays, they are not like us. They didn't see the rains. They didn't see the flooding. They didn't see floodplain cultivation. Mr. Speaker, they didn't see the season of plenty where mangoes were all over, and you cannot punish anyone. There's no stealing when you go and pick a mango. They didn't see the time when, during the harvest time, you could eat anywhere, not just your aunties and uncles. Food was in plenty. These people have been brought up in a different culture. They do not know even how our artifacts looked like. Mr. Speaker, it is time that we preserve this knowledge. In my village, Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful to some of the leaders who are retired from government, who took the opportunity to set up the Ngao Museum. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker, when we brought the PS of Culture to come and open that place. Now, Mr. Speaker, when people go to holidays, when our children visit, and those of us in our age group who have now grandchildren, they're able to see how our people used to live, Mr. Speaker, and identify why people do the things they do. For example, Mr. Speaker, in our culture, you cannot just go get a person who has died and you bury them. You must take him to his house. There must be an all-night singing. And it's a way of saying goodbye to the departed loved one. And Mr. Speaker, it's also now we are learning from psychology that it's a way of bringing to closure what is inevitable, what has already happened. So, Mr. Speaker, I think as a Senate, we need to pass this bill. And, Mr. Speaker, the only thing that I would emphasize is that where there is clash of culture and the English law, this law, Mr. Speaker, so long as it is not repugnant to justice, it should prevail. And, Mr. Speaker, I think we'll need to bring a few amendments to bring that into perspective. We want culture to be respected. We want our people to know that they came from somewhere. Our culture, Mr. Speaker, cannot be defined by television, soap operas, and cartoons, and series that people watch, and people grow thinking that that is the culture of our people. Mr. Speaker, when you hear of this transgender, that thankfully President Trump has come very strong against it, despite the fact that it originated on their places. These things, they were being brought here in Africa, Mr. Speaker. People are being told it's good. You need to let the boy be the boy or the girl be the girl, or to let him define his gender as they are growing. How on earth, Mr. Speaker? How? And when President Museveni took a very strong stand against those kind of stuff, they even threatened him with stop supporting his aid activities, Mr. Speaker, foreign aid. We need to make this law a reality, make it real, and Mr. Speaker, so that our people will not be products of soap operas, cartoons, series, and movies to be part and parcel of our culture. Mr. Speaker, some of these Hollywood created cultures, people don't know that it became like, in fact, some of the actors were giving their own testimonies, that they refused to participate in parts that demanded of them to play homosexual roles. And Mr. Speaker, when you look at those movies, people think, oh, that's the correct thing, but there's an agenda that was being driven, and thankfully this time it has been held back. I don't know for how long. I hope the next president of the US will follow. When you are born, you are a man, you are a man. When you are born a woman, you are a woman. You know, this bill, Mr. Speaker, will help us give our children, the society we live in, the Africanness in us, Mr. Speaker. The thing about sharing. It was natural, Mr. Speaker, that if you went hunting, you would come back with the hunt and you'd share. You even knew these parts belong to the uncles, these parts belongs to the aunties, these are for the Baba Wakus or the uncles who are on the side of the father. But nowadays, and Mr. Speaker, even in our villages, we never used to have fences. No fence. I remember when I was young, Mr. Speaker, I would wake up in the morning to go and say hello to the younger uncle. and across the village to the other uncle, to the other uncle, to the auntie. And all of us cousins, we would move together. When we descend in the house of this uncle, we eat everything. So breakfast is there. They will come to my father's house for midnight, midday snack. We will go to my auntie for lunch. We were playing, and everything was shared. You would see the village at the beginning to the end. Nowadays, Mr. Speaker, the Mzungu has said everyone must have a fence. It's dangerous. People are bad. And everything has disappeared. Those happy days are gone when we used to go to the river, Mr. Speaker, and swim with abandon. Mr. Speaker, I recall, we never even used to have swimming costumes or things like that. And we never did bad things. We all knew the girls were downstream, the other side, and the boys were upstream, the other side. We all knew the roads that you would use, where to go. Nowadays, Mr. Speaker, even people are not allowed to go swimming in the river because we are told it's dangerous. Mr. Speaker, my prayer is that this bill passes and we preserve what is good about our cultures. And Mr. Speaker, it is my prayer that even in every county and sub-counties, the way we are setting up hospitals, we should be able to set up museums so that our future generations can see what we used to do. So, Speaker, I was in Uganda the other time, and I went to see how the people would use these reeds, the reeds from banana leaf, and they use traditional ways to make it so nice, Mr. Speaker. That science, no one has recorded it, but you just have, small huts where people are showing you this is how we used to do it. They will do it and they will come up with a beautiful gown, Mr. Speaker, traditional. And that gown, Mr. Speaker, even when you touch it, you feel it, Mr. Speaker. All this science needs to be preserved. And in Kenya, we had various forms. And my prayer is that we will support this bill, pass it very quickly in the Senate. If there are any amendments that we need to do, let us do them. But in principle, it speaks to what the Constitution envisaged, that we need to have a legislation that protects our culture. Mr. Speaker, with those many words, I pray to support. Thank you.
Is Senator Wabua Enoch.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity that you've given me to also contribute to this bill. The Culture Bill 2024, which has been sent to us from the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, from the onset, I must say it is a bill that perhaps should have been passed much earlier, but now that we have it, we can discuss it, debate it, and breathe some light to it, Mr. Speaker, first of all, I want to thank the drafters of the bill for attempting to do a very important thing, to put culture at the center of government. Mr. Speaker, this bill, as captured by the drafters, is drawn from Article 11 of the Constitution on culture. And Mr. Speaker, allow me to say this, that perhaps it's only that now, these days, the Parliamentary Service Commission, and I'm seated next to one of the commissioners here, does not seem to have sufficient resources to do proper facilitation of members to do proper legislation. I'm not saying this is not proper. Mr. Speaker, I'm just imagining how rich this bill would have been if, as we debate it, we have a report from as far as Paraguay, Mr. Speaker, in South America, where we have a community of the Kamba Nation who, for more than 200 years, have stood firm, defended and protected their culture in a foreign land. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that when I looked at this bill, one of the things that struck me is that this bill talks almost very casually about the involvement of the county governments or the role of the county governments in the preservation of culture. But it has gone very, very heavy on the role of the cabinet secretary, the national government, on what they should do to preserve culture. Mr. Speaker, you protect me from loud consultation between my colleagues here, and I'm hearing them talking about the Kamba Nation. Mr. Speaker, they are not in Mexico, they're in Paraguay. Mr. Speaker, the preservation of culture in this day and age will serve us very, very well. You've heard the contribution from my colleague, Senator Manzo and Senator Mugatana. Almost, wishing that we could get back there in those good old days where when we went to school, Mr. Speaker, we were taught to read and write in our mother tongues. And there was nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with that. Out of that, Mr. Speaker, today we are able to read Bibles, and I'm not sure about Quran, but Bibles in our mother tongues. We are able to sing hymns from in books written in our mother tongues. We cannot even try that with our children, Mr. Speaker. That aspect of our culture, because, Mr. Speaker, being a student of literature, I believe that language is a carrier of culture. A people who cannot speak a language will be very, very difficult for them, Mr. Speaker, to advance a culture related to that language. So, Mr. Speaker, something needs to be done to improve on our ethnic diversities, the languages that we speak in this country. They enrich our bond. Mr. Speaker, they make us strong. They don't make us, our diversity makes us a stronger nation, a stronger people. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, I would actually be urging that from the onset, sufficient funding should be given to universities to do proper research and development of our cultures. Mr. Speaker,
Senator Eno Kwambua, there is a point of order from the minority leader. Senator Mazai.
Asante, Mstahiki Speaker. Mstahiki Speaker, nataka kujua tu kidogo kutoka kwa ndugu yangu kwamba ametaja wala hakuweza kufafanua kinaga ubaga. Akisema kwamba sote kama Wakenya tunajua kwamba Wakamba wako katika eneo la Ukambani, Machakos, Kitui, kila mahali. Lakini kutuambia kwamba katika hali ya kwamba Wakamba wako katika nchi nyingine ya Paraguay, na tunajua Wakamba ni wa Kenya, wako ndani ya Kenya, pengine angeweza kufafanua zaidi ili tuweze kujua hawa Wakamba hawa ambao wako Paraguay ni Wakamba gani, na wale Wakamba ambao wako Machakos, Kitui, Mwingi ni wapi? uhusiano umekuwa namna gani? Asante Bwana Spika.
So, Mr. Speaker, I would request, because my leader has sought information which is important, that, Mr. Speaker, if my time is up, then you give me some more time, because I'm spending this time now to educate my leader. Mr. Speaker, let my leader know, and this House know, that in the year 1820, there's a general from Uruguay who came to East Africa looking for compatriots, people to fight on his side. And he was directed to a certain nation, not a community. He was directed to a certain nation residing in East Africa, in Kenya, the southern part of the country, called the Kambas. And when he came, Mr. Speaker, he negotiated with the leaders of the community at that time to be given warriors, men to go and fight with him. Mr. Speaker, whereas most communities in our region went to the Americas and to Europe as slaves, the Kamba warriors that went to Uruguay, though they actually landed in Paraguay, they went there after negotiating a deal with the general that he would take 250 of them, warriors, but they insisted that if we are going, then we are going with our wives, because we don't want to go there and lose our culture. We'll go with our wives, we'll go and fight on your side. If we win this battle, we give you the assurance, and we will win it. If we win this battle, you will give us a piece of land where we will settle with our wives, we will procreate, and we will become members of your community, but we will retain our culture. Mr. Speaker, from that time to date, that community lives in Paraguay. They have retained their culture. In fact, they are known internationally for their culture in terms of music and dance, the drumming and the dancing. The Speaker, that should be sufficient information to my leader. Now I can go back to the bill. And that's what I'm saying, the Speaker, if we are talking about preservation of culture, if we are talking about preservation of culture, then there is a community that has demonstrated ability to preserve culture beyond where they live. Mr. Speaker, allow me to advance my comments on the bill. Part 2 of the bill, Mr. Speaker, it talks about management of culture. And it talks about the development of culture, Mr. Speaker, not inhibiting or struggling culture, Mr. Speaker. So I do expect that the cabinet ministry responsible for culture will take it upon themselves, Mr. Speaker, to help all cultures in this country to develop and to be shared and to be passed on to future generations. Because the wording of the bill, Mr. Speaker, is that the CS is supposed to help promote and rehabilitate those cultures, Mr. Speaker, that are facing the danger of extinction. There is a responsibility on the part of the Cabinet Secretary to help in the rehabilitation of those cultures. I see, Mr. Speaker, the bill talks about national cultural institutions. And what comes to mind, Mr. Speaker, to me is the Bomas of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, the Bomas of Kenya must be the melting pot of Kenyan cultures. That if you go to the Bomas of Kenya, you should have access to all cultural artifacts, cultural heritage, interact with different people from different communities, expressing the Speaker, and developing and popularizing their culture. So whatever is happening at the Bomas of Kenya, the Speaker, I have seen a lot of construction going on there. The Speaker, I hope that that construction will not compromise the need for us to preserve our culture. The Speaker, would expect that one day, after that construction is done, then a Pokomo will go there and find a Pokomo house, a traditional Pokomo house, and interact with the culture of the Pokomo people. That a Kalenjin will go there and find a traditional Kalenjin hut and interact with the culture of the Kalenjin people, including even the staple foods of our people. The Bomas of Kenya, I reiterate, must remain the melting pot of our Kenyan culture. Whatever modernity, Mr. Speaker, goes in there, we must not lose that aspect. Mr. Speaker, the bill talks about developing mechanisms for restitution and repatriation of illegally acquired cultural property. Mr. Speaker, as we speak today, it is common knowledge that there is a lot of cultural artifacts that were taken away from our country to foreign lands. Mr. Speaker, even including the remains of the man-eaters of Safo. We need those remains here. We need those lions here. They belong to us. They are part of our culture. They are part of our heritage. We need them to be rehabilitated, and that is what the bill is speaking about. As Speaker, as I said, universities must be funded, properly funded, to carry out research and development of culture. Mr. Speaker, Clause 6. I have a small problem, Mr. Speaker, with Clause 6. Because there's the one that assigns roles to county governments. You know, Mr. Speaker, the way we are structured as a country, though there was an argument some other day that we begin to think about renaming our counties. But Mr. Speaker, if you go to Meru County, you'll find that the majority of the people who reside in Meru County are people from the Meru extraction. They have a common history. They have a shared destiny. Mr. Speaker, the roles being assigned to county governments in this bill are too minimal. So, Mr. Speaker, because Clause 6 is the one that assigns those roles, but then from there on, its reference is made to the Cabinet Secretary, including even the Cabinet Secretary being the one to make a determination on the benefit sharing agreements from proceeds of cultural heritage. Mr. Speaker, this should not be allowed. We want the people of Samburu to be able to decide what value they attach to their cultural heritage without necessarily having to make reference to a Cabinet Secretary who perhaps has never even visited Samburu. The people of the indigenous people must be the ones to attach value to their culture. Once they have attached the value of their culture, they should be the ones to determine levels of access. So that, Mr. Speaker, that role that is being given to the Cabinet Secretary should actually go back to the county government, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the promotion of cultural activities among counties. You know, Mr. Speaker, there is a very interesting conversation that is taking place among the members of the Council of Governors. And the Speaker, I pity that council. Honestly, I pity that council. Because, Mr. Speaker, there are opportunities for great things to discuss and come up with roadmaps that will put this country in the right trajectory. Mr. Speaker, you know, the other day, I was very privileged, Mr. Speaker, to attend a medical camp organized by the K.O. Ambua Foundation, which is associated with me, in the Raka ward of Kitui County, which is predominantly occupied by the people from the Raka. And Mr. Speaker, in that camp, I had the privilege and the honor to be a guest during the initiation of young men of the Raka origin. And Mr. Speaker, you look at the beauty and the strength and the resilience of the culture of our people, and you admire it, Mr. Speaker. I wish governors would spend a lot more time to discuss how they can develop this diversity and the richness of their cultures in their own counties, and that put together then that forms the national culture instead of sitting and pretending that they can determine who sits in the National Cohesion Committee of the Senate and who does not sit. Mr. Speaker, Clause 8 aligns properly with Article 35 of the Constitution on access to information, and that is okay, Mr. Speaker, that people should be able to access information on culture and cultural heritage. The only problem that I have, Mr. Speaker, begins to arise from Clause 9, because now the Cabinet Secretary in the national government again takes center stage. The clause says that the Cabinet Secretary shall, in consultation with relevant stakeholders and county governments. You see, Mr. Speaker, those of us who are students of linguistics, you know, when you say relevant stakeholders and, it means then the county governments are not relevant stakeholders. They are outside, you know. Relevant stakeholders and county governments establish mechanisms for the determination and payment of compensation on royalties. Mr. Speaker, that should not happen. The county governments must be at the center of decision making on what payments and royalties should be for cultures resident in their counties. Mr. Speaker, there is also Clause 9F. It talks about a determination on the amount of investment by a state organ in the culture or cultural heritage. What about, Mr. Speaker, the investment of county governments? Because the county governments are assigned a responsibility to develop cultures. So when you're determining the value of any cultural heritage, Mr. Speaker, then if you're going to consider the investment of the state, you must also consider the investment of the county governments in that culture and cultural heritage. Mr. Speaker, all in all, this is a good bill. A bill whose time, Mr. Speaker, has come. And I want to reiterate that if there are any amendments that the Senate should propose, and I believe that personally we need to propose some amendments to this bill, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to that time, so that we don't make this bill really a national government bill. This is a national bill, not a national government bill. It's a national bill which must consider the input and the benefits accruing to both levels of government, both the national government and the county governments. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I support.
Honourable Senators, I wish to make this communication, then we proceed with the bill. Honourable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon, visiting students from the Catholic University of Eastern Africa. The delegation comprises 60 students who are in the Senate for a one-day academic exposition. On behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation and wish them a fruitful and enriching visit. Thank you. Senator Mutindi was smiling in a way suggesting that we want to welcome them to the Senate. Is that true? Yes, proceed with, and 1 minute.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate, because I know as a senator for the Nairobi delegation, I want to take this great opportunity to really welcome our alumni. You know, we normally say comrades power, only that you cannot respond, but I want to really encourage you and tell you that education is the only weapon that you can have, that nobody's gonna take it away from you. I want you to continue enjoying your studies. Some of us never had a privilege to be even in the gallery of any parliament, but you have it today. Make the best use of it. Be proud of your own studies. And lastly, you can also be in these spaces that you are in. Focus on the right leadership. You have a structure of leadership within your institution. Kindly respect it. I wish you God's blessings and success. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Let us now hear the Abaguzi perspective on culture issues through Senator Mogeni Eric.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for the record, I want to state that for once I agree almost entirely with this bill that has been processed and sent to us by our brothers and sisters in the National Assembly. And it's very enriching, Mr. Speaker, sitting next to my colleague, Senator Wambua. I've learned today that the campus, we have some campus in Paraguay. So if I ever travel there, I would like to see whether I will get somebody who resembles Wambua, and I'll report back that you have your people in Paraguay. Yeah, Mr. Speaker, culture is rich. And you know, our constitution was very deliberate in Article 11 when the drafters, and I think this came from Bomas, and it was refined by the committee of experts and passed at the referendum. Article 11, Mr. Speaker, says that culture is the foundation of our nation. And that statement would not have been put there if those who participated in drafting our constitution did not acknowledge the importance of culture. And Mr. Speaker, culture it's a unifying factor. Mr. Speaker, in our Kisii beliefs and culture, we have a very strong belief that we Kisis and Merus are cousins. And we have traced and we know that somewhere in Tigania East, there is a location called Akivi. You know, the Merus could not pronounce Kisii, so they called that location Akivi. You know, and when you approach a lady and you are a Kisii, they will say, you know, we know you Kisis, you have timbers like Merus. So culture is unified. In my early days when I used to sell in a shop in Migori, where Senator Kajuang comes from, the ladies there used to call me Jagot. There is no day they called me by my name. They used to call me Jagot, the person from the hill, you know. And you feel nice. That's how nice it is. Imagine when you get somebody. If I find Senator Kajuang calling me Jagot, I feel nice. And I call him Jakanya now. We connect, you know, through culture. But when you are calling me Senator Mogeni and I call you Senator, we don't connect. But when we relate through the whole culture, Mr. Speaker, you feel nice. I spent, I think, over 6 years in my early days schooling in Kericho, Mr. Speaker. I was in primary school, I was in Kericho. In my high school, I was in a school called Kabianga. Kabianga is, I think, that's the village where majority leader, Senator Cheruiyot, comes from. And you know, we have a strong belief, Mr. Speaker, that Kisis were residing in that region, Kabianga. And we only moved because we felt it was so cold, our children were dying, so we call it Kabianga. Kabianga in Kisii means things have refused to work, Kabianga. And Senator, if you know, there is a school, I schooled at Kabianga myself. Yeah, there are people, Mr. Speaker, I used to visit, and they used to tell me that, you know, where your clan, you know the Bocheri clan. That's where CS Chirichir, he comes from that clan. When I was in Kabianga, now my teacher can't punish me. I used to escape at times in the evening. I go to Kisis around Kabianga, and they could welcome me and say, you are one of our own. Near Kwabitungu, if you know Kwabitungu Secondary School. Yes, there is a clan there you call Mabasik. The Mabasik, Mr. Speaker, when you come to Kisii, those are the Ababasi, the Ababasi clan. There is one you call I think you call Motoborik. Those are, yes, Motoborik, those are Abatobori. So this bill is telling us, Mr. Speaker, that we should unify the country by making our people to understand our roots, our heritage, where you came from. And you will find that all these communities, we had a lot we are doing in common. You know, if you follow, Senator, what was his name? Senator Langat, Dr. Langat. Christopher Langat used to tell me that his grandmother is from Kisii. Yeah, when I was the chairman, president of Law Society in 2007, and I'd invited CS Agriculture then, the current president, Dr. William Ruto, and I went to his private office to hand him a letter of invitation and invite him to come and address lawyers as a guest. He told me his great-grandmother comes from Kisii, and he says, you know, Kisii and us, we have a connection. So I'm really happy that as Kenyans, we have acknowledged that we need to celebrate our culture and pass this law, Mr. Speaker, that will allow our children to understand some of these things, Mr. Speaker. Nowadays, I attend functions, wedding functions, Mr. Speaker, and you find people coming and saying, we want 1 million. That's totally against our culture. Me, I know that in the Kisii culture, when you are marrying, Mr. Speaker, you take 5 cows and 1 bull. That's our Kisii culture. And when I was negotiating, you know, dowry, when I was marrying my wife Jacqueline, my sweetheart, I traveled all the way to Luo Nyanza, and I told the Luos that for me to go back and tell my people that I've gotten a wife, 4-legged animals must walk to your boma. And that's what we did with my elder brother, Kimaiga. We took 4-legged cows, 5 of them, all the way to Luo Nyanza with a bull. And then I said, now, I've gotten a wife. We need to document this culture. The Gen Zs, our young children, will never understand this culture. And I'm sure, Mr. Speaker, even in the Meru, there's something from Paraguay.
Yes. let us get the...
Is it information? I need to give you permission. Is it a point of order? Point of information?
What is it? Is it a point of order? Point of order.
Okay.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I know the Senator for Nyamira is flowing very well. But he has twice made reference to 4-legged cows, Mr. Speaker. And I'm wondering, I mean, could there be a 3-legged cow somewhere, a 2-legged? What are these 4-legged cows that he is talking about, Mr. Speaker? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I think my good friend, Senator Wambua, he should liaise with his party leader, who is our Korera, is our in-law. And he knows when you come to Kisii, you tell us you brought a cow, it is not complete till you say a 4-legged animal. You can slaughter one and say you brought a cow to us. We want one walking, 4-legged animal walking to the bomb, Mr. Speaker. So I was saying, Mr. Speaker, that I know even in Meru culture, and my niece is married there, you have a very good culture on how you conduct weddings, Mr. Speaker. I want these things to be documented so that our children can know. If they want to understand about culture, there is a law they can make reference to. Mr. Speaker, even issues of circumcision. In our days, Mr. Speaker, we used to go for circumcision with age group, our age group. Like me, the people who went to circumcision with me, they can never oppose me politically because we have a very, very strong connection. We know the 5 of us, I was the first one to face the knife, and all these others. We have a very strong bond of friendship, Mr. Speaker. Nowadays, we are taking our children to hospital. The community never celebrates their passage of, we used to call it what? A passage of right, you know. Yes, right of passage, Mr. Speaker. Now, you wake up and somebody tells you, my son now is a man. You say, when did this happen? No. I took him to hospital. Mr. Speaker, let's go back to our culture. In those days, Mr. Speaker, circumcision was a big thing. You attend a circumcision, there is dancing, you eat, you enjoy, and the whole village knows this boy now has become a man, Mr. Speaker. I feel sad, Mr. Speaker, that as a senator, The people of Nyamira have not given me an opportunity to attend any of these functions because we have totally killed our culture, Mr. Speaker. There is nothing wrong, Mr. Speaker, for the community to know their children, because we say children belong to the community. So when you do these celebrations, which the Constitution of Kenya in Article 11 has acknowledged, you are helping these children to create friendship that will last forever. Even if your son schools in Nairobi, Senator Wambua or Senator Cheriot, and you take them back home, and they go through that rite of passage ceremony with other age mates, they will have a long-lasting friendship. I was happy when Senator of Narok here invited us, was it last year? Yeah, to go and attend a celebration of his son. And I was also invited by the MP for Narok West, Tongoyo. That's what we want, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, and my friend Senator Wambua told me some times back that in appreciation of that rite of passage, that culture, he took a bull to his son, Mr. Speaker. That boy will grow up appreciating culture, Mr. Speaker. I was invited maybe 4 years ago by my good friend Governor Munya to attend a naming ceremony of his son. That's when I learned that the Merus, there is a time, I think when your boy is around 16, you do a ceremony where you now name your son properly. And I was happy to see the Meru elders, the Jurinchekes there, appreciating that for them that is a big ceremony. That's what we want, Mr. Speaker. Even in marriage, Madam, Mr. Speaker, sir, there is a way you address your wife in culture. You don't wake up, for example, and say, "We tabita kuja hapa." No. In culture, there is a way you address your wife. But our children may not know. You know, like me, I can't just wake up and call my wife Jacqueline. No. There is a traditional name I refer to her. And everybody knows. I call her Omwaj. Yeah? Yes. That's how I address her. And when I even was this, when they hear me say that, they say, yes, this son of ours understands culture, Mr. Speaker. That's what we want to put down in our laws, so that our children also, Mr. Speaker, pick some of these very, very good cultures. We don't want to say the only word you can call your spouse is sweetheart. No. Or honey. No. They are very good words. I'm sure even the Kambas have, the Maasais have, the Kipsigis have. We all have these words. I'm sure if Thabit has crossed to the Merus, there is a word Meru will call her and she feels nice. Culture. Celebration of culture, Mr. Speaker. In fact, if you read Article 159, if I move to another point about dispute resolution, you know the Constitution acknowledges that in our various societies, we had ways of resolving disputes. The one which was famed that a friend of mine wrote a thesis when we were at law school was the Jurincheke. Governor Munya's thesis was on Jurincheke. He wrote on Jurincheke's role in dispute resolution as we were finishing our LLB degree. And there are so many disputes, Mr. Speaker, that should never go to our courts of law, that can be resolved by the Jurinchekes, Mr. Speaker. I even saw, I think there was an attempt when Kawira Mwangaza governor was facing impeachment. I think the Jurincheke tried to arbitrate because the society acknowledges that there is a role our wise old wazirs can play in resolving some of these things. In Kisii, we had, I think we used to call it ritong. That's where people used to go to discuss and resolve disputes. I hope we shall enrich this bill, Mr. Speaker, by elevating the role that our culture plays in dispute resolution. Some of these things like disputes arising out of succession, Mr. Speaker, if you have, unfortunately, you have lost a parent, you have disputes within a family, these are things that can be solved by our wazirs who understand our culture. They know how you share property when somebody has died. When good things used to happen, I don't know about the Kamba culture, but as Mr. Speaker, when rain came, that used to be a celebration, because I can see this bill is saying that we should make a provision through laws passed by our counties, or now you do some of these celebrations. Why we used to celebrate rain is because we want to thank our gods. So speak, when God has brought you rain, you celebrate. And we used to have songs for them. Forget about the ones you are seeing nowadays by Embarambamba and the others. We used to have good songs celebrating rains. Our names, Mr. Speaker, the names that we were given as a connection. I know in Meru you call Mogeni. In my culture, people know that I'm called Mogeni because we were visitors somewhere. That's how we got the name Mogeni, visitor. That's what it means. The same thing, we share that with Meru. If I was to name, if I marry from another tribe and we want to give that lady a name, we used to call them Kwamboka, meaning you crossed a bridge. Mostly we used to give it to the Luo ladies who have crossed over from Luoland to Kisii. We call them Kwamboka. If you hear somebody call Mora, Kisii used to say Mora talks a lot. Everywhere Kipita Kisikia maneno, they will say something. Mora. You hear somebody call Makori, Makori was born somewhere on the road. Yeah? That's why they are called Makori. Mr. Speaker, if we don't preserve these things, our children will never know about them. If you go to, finally, Senator Cheruiyot, you know the Kabianga area is predominantly SDA, that area. It's because those were the first missionaries to reach Kisii. Not that the Catholics were not good people, but those were the first people to reach there. If you go to Kabianga area, there are so many people who go to the SDA church because of the background. Senator, if you know Titus Korir, when I was in school, he used to be the MD of Kenya Finley. Yes, Kenya Finley. His father is called Sabok from Kisii. So you people and us, we are one. Let politics not divide us. We are one people. Yeah, this is why this bill is nice. Yeah, yes, we are one people. Yeah, you know me, Mamze is a young man, so I have to tell him this culture. Because the people who are in his location, Kabianga, the larger part of Kericho, and us, we are one people, I'm telling you. If you go and sit with those who are saying, they will tell you. Me, when I see Chirichiri, I know Chirichiri is one of us. Because he has, his blood is from the Kisii people. So I support this bill, Mr. Speaker, with a lot of excitement. And I hope once it's enacted, our governors can take the front line in implementing.
Thank you, Senator Mugeni. This is a very entertaining bill. Let's hear from Senator Olekina Rendama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my dear good friend, the majority leader, whom I have grown to respect because of his belief in culture. But if you ask him today what culture is, he doesn't understand. Because on a daily basis, he walks with one foot in the modern culture and one foot closely to his traditional culture. And that is why, God willing, he's going to be a kingpin of his community. But, Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this bill. This bill, which is important for us to define what culture is all about. And I'm happy that the Senior Counsel has alluded to Article 11 of the Constitution, which really viewed culture as a nation foundation, a nation of Kenya as a foundation. But if you look at what the definition of culture, it is a shared set of beliefs, values, practices, symbols that we in the Maasai community is what define who we are, our culture as a Maasai. Mr. Speaker, I've read through the bill. And although I support the bill, I tend to disagree with the sponsor of the bill, the majority leader of the National Assembly, because of centralizing too much control and power, giving all that power to the cabinet secretary, leaving elders. And you know, sometimes it's imperative that we define what is culture. You know, simple definition, sets of beliefs. Who understand those beliefs more than the elders of our society? When you come to talking about compensation, you give that power again to someone else to determine. Mr. Speaker, there are sets of amendments. You know, I know it's around 5 p.m. and there are so many of us who would like to contribute on this. But it is imperative that we clarify so that we don't just over-legislate, control cultures. There are things that I would like to see in this bill for it to fully define the interest of my culture. I want the definition of culture. I want the issues of royalties. I want our people, our elders, to have the veto power to say this is the right way or this is not the right way. We cannot, you know, leave certain things to regulations. Someone will come up and draft regulations. It will come to our committee here. But they'll give all the powers. Why not just define it clearly and say when it comes to the issue of royalties, let us define like this. Number one, let us give the country 40% or the community 40% because they are the ones that define the culture. Let us give the county government 30%. Let us give an individual 30%. Let us not wait, Mr. Speaker, for this to be defined in the regulations. We have an opportunity to amend this bill, and we have sections. Section 15. We need to recognize a lot of what define cultures. If you come today and say, what makes up the Maasai culture? As an example, Mr. Speaker, it is our way of life. And what is our way of life? You know, Mr. Speaker, if you go to northern Kenya and you go to Laikipia, our people for over centuries have been, for over decades actually, they have been terrorized. When they try to graze their cows, they are arrested and they are told that they have encroached into other people's land and territories. Yet that was their land. Mr. Speaker, we have an opportunity to amend Section 15 and add Section 15A to be able to clearly recognize the route of grazing. Set aside and say, this is for the Maasai people. Let them graze their cows here. This is what defines their culture. But we cannot leave that power to a cabinet secretary. Mr. Speaker, it is imperative that we recognize the importance of elders in this bill. And not the politically motivated cultures who are appointed by certain governors to be able to fulfill their interests. No. Let the community, let the Njuri and Jeke, let the Maasai elders elect their own representative who will have the veto power. So that if a cabinet secretary comes and says, no, this is the way it's supposed to be passed, we say, no, you do not know our culture. We know our culture better. Mr. Speaker, I was impressed by the Akamba community that went all the way to Prague and what they demanded. That demonstrated clear understanding of what their culture is. So this bill, I want to plead, and I'm going to talk with the Secretariat, because I want to bring those amendments so that you ensure that those amendments are part and parcel of that bill. Set up corridors for grazing. That is what will define a Maasai culture. You know, give the elders powers to be able to veto certain, you know, regulations. But let's not leave the issues to be dealt with by the Cabinet Secretary. So, Mr. Speaker, what am I against in this bill? Very clear, I'm against the centralization of the powers of the control of this bill or culture, because that again will marginalize, it will continue to marginalize our communities. We're already marginalized. So why should we come up with a legislation that will further marginalize these communities? Let us give and recognize the power of the Maasai elders in determining what is right for the Maasais. Mr. Speaker, in the last parliament, I was arrested. And I was arrested and taken to court because I said that Maasai issues can better be articulated by the Maasai themselves and not by anyone else. I still stand by that. Because now we have an opportunity to be able to recognize Article 11 of the Constitution. I will stand by that forever. I will say that we can better articulate our issues. So give the elders, let the community select elders. Give them an opportunity to say, this is what our culture is all about. Now, we've spoken about a database. This bill has spoken about a database. You let that database be centralized? I can say, to some extent, yes, it might be a good idea because, guess what? We'll have a database. But who will control that database? I wish this bill would have introduced a process of going back to the colonial masters and recovering all our artifacts. Everything that was taken to Europe and bringing it back and putting it to that database. Then I would say that database will have a meaning. Mr. Speaker, I feel like if we leave this bill the way it is, it will have very weak community involvement in everything, in deciding what their culture is, and even in deciding how much royalties they should get. I respect this House, Mr. Speaker. Your brother, Mr. Speaker, the current governor of Bungoma County, recognized the role of culture and allowed me to dress traditional in this House. It's a pity that today when we're talking about this culture, I'm not dressed like this. I hope that when the majority leader is going to be replying, he will come dressed like a Kipsigis elder so that it will make sense on what we are talking about. So, Mr. Speaker, there are few amendments which I think will enrich this bill. And I hope that Kimani Ichung'wah will accept them when we take them back to the National Assembly so that we don't have to go back into the issue of mediation. One, it is important to entrench an elders-led board. Elders, Njuri Njeke, Masai elders, Kamba elders, the Kisii elders, the Kalenjin elders, you know, the Mijikenda elders, you know, the Bukusu elders, and from my friend in Tana River, so that we entrench it into this act, or into this bill, so that they can clearly define what their culture stands for. So that is important. So we must amend Section 8 to require, at minimum, 30%. And I mean 30% of the Maasai and other pastoral communities to be in that board. Because today, Mr. Speaker, anyone who is coming to Kenya recognizes that that's not my phone, that's not my ringtone, that's someone else's ringtone somewhere. Anyone coming into this country comes to see the wildlife in the Masai Mara Game Reserve, and also, to some extent, come to see the Maasais. So it would be fair for the Maasais and other pastoral communities to make up 30% of this board. You know, on the county cultural committees, and they can, all of them define what is it that keeps this culture growing, and fund them. Mr. Speaker, every month I give a bull to young Maasai warriors. In fact, tomorrow they'll be going to my home and they'll go into the cow barn and they'll pick a bull to go and eat. We want to continue encouraging Moranism.
You know, when we continue, because that's what our culture is all about. We can probably say because of the changes, artificial intelligence, all these crazy things that have been brought by the West, we can adapt what the majority leader does on a daily basis. One foot in the modern culture, and the strongest foot in the traditional culture. So we put this, it's a bicultural approach to life. Let's fund these morans. Let's allow them. Let's not leave it to one or two individuals to give them a bull. There are many. It is only a few who are given. Let's give them their food because we gain from it. A lot of our foreign exchange is earned because of our traditions, because of our cultural practices. Mr. Speaker, it is also important, and we can learn this from other countries. You know, if you go to if you lived in the States, there is a nation within a nation. It's almost like a country for the Native Americans. When you're in Arizona, you will cross and say you are now in the Native American country. They recognize that. And the state of Arizona does not interfere with the way they live their life. In fact, a lot of people go up there and they set up casinos. You know, they make money. The tribal chiefs and elders are recognized. So, Mr. Speaker, because I can see my sister want to contribute, I want to end by stating that it is important for us to really have this balance. For once, let's allow the elders, our cultures, to be the one enriching our legislation. When we talk about intellectual property rights, who is better to define how intellectual property rights are being violated than the Kamba elders or the Maasai elders? It is only them. And that is why I insist that they must be in this board to make the decision. I want to plead with the majority leader here that we build consensus in bringing amendments. I'll be amending section 15, adding section 15A. I'll also be amending section 8 of the bill in terms of representation. Section 15, my input will be on cultural corridors. You know, if BBI would have seen the light of day, a lot of things would have really, really benefited this nation. One of my proposals for the BBI was to set up a 10-kilometer corridor from the Masai Mara gates, like, for instance, a Sekenani gate. You put a 10-kilometer corridor where zero development happens. Zero developments. Currently, we face a lot of human-wildlife conflict because a lot of people who have now come in and bought land from our people have now converted a land which had been set aside as a corridor for grazing into huge mansions. You know, they fenced the land. Before, the land was not fenced. So we need to recognize those cultural corridors and keep them and support the community so that they are not left behind. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I support, and I really would like to ask the Secretariat to ensure that I don't forget to bring those amendments. Those amendments are very key. So I would like to request the Secretariat to work with me from today, Mr. Speaker, so that we bring those amendments. And this bill, majority leader should not go without those amendments. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Bill Senator Mazayo Stewart, Minority Leader.
Asante sana mstahiki Spika. Mstahiki Spika, pia mimi nataka kujiunga na ndugu zangu wote ambao wamechangia hii hii bill ama hii sheria ambayo imeletwa kutoka kwa bunge la kitaifa. Kwanza nataka kutoa kongole kwa bunge la kitaifa kwa kuleta hii bill wakati muhimu sana ambao ilikuwa inahitajika. Bwana Spika, bili hii ambayo ni bili ya uasili, yaani ile tunaita cultural bill, uasili wetu kama wa Kenya, ni bili ambayo mimi naona ni muhimu sana katika bili zote ambazo tumeweza kuzipitisha katika hii bunge. Bwana Spika, wahenga walisema mwacha asili ni mtumwa, na sisi kama wa asili hatuwezi kuacha asili zetu. Kwa hiyo Bwana Spika, mimi naunga mkono sana bili hii ya uasili. Bwana Spika, utakumbuka kwamba zamani sisi kama wa Kenya ama wa Afrika, hii Afrika, bara la Afrika lilikuwa kama uwanja wa mpira kwa serikali za Ulaya, hususan Waingereza na wa Amerika na wa Portugal. Waliweza kufika sehemu hizi na wakachukua ndugu zetu ama baba zetu. Mpaka hivi sasa ukiangalia katika hizo nchi utaona ya kwamba kuna watu weusi zaidi. Na hata kulikuwa na mwimbaji mmoja maarufu sana, alikuwa akiitwa Bob Marley kutoka huko Jamaica. Alikuwa akisema ya kwamba ikiwa wewe ni uko na rangi nyeusi, basi fahamu ya kwamba wewe ni Mwafrika. Kwa hiyo Bwana Spika, ni kwamba Waafrika wametapakaa katika ulimwengu wote, kwa sababu ukienda Jamaica utapata watu weusi, ukienda Amerika utapata watu weusi, siku hizi hata ukienda Ujerumani pia utapata watu weusi, na kila mahali wametapakaa. Kwa hiyo Bwana Spika, jambo ambalo pengine limenifurahisha ni kuona kwamba Wakamba leo ndio nimejua wako katika Paraguay. Kwa hiyo natumaini na vile walikwenda na hivyo vitu vyao vyote huko wakajifundisha na hawakuacha hiyo asili. Siku moja nitakapopata nafasi, na hivi sasa niko na nia kubwa ya pia kuweza kuona kwamba Wamijikenda wako wapi katika ulimwengu huu. Bwana Spika, nikiweza kuchangia, kuna vile vigango. Vigango ni zile zamani sisi vitu ambavyo tulikuwa tunategemea kujitambulisha, ambavyo pengine vilikuwa vinatumiwa kwa uganga, vingine vilikuwa vinatumiwa kwa sababu vimechongwa zinawekwa. Kuna vingine ambavyo pia Bwana Spika vilikuwa vimetengenezwa kuona kwamba pengine hakuna shetani ama kitu kibaya chochote kinaweza kudhuru wakati maafa ama janga limetokea. Hivyo vigango vinawekwa hapo, na hivi mpaka kufikia hivi sasa vigango vingi sana vilichukuliwa katika Kilifi na havijarudi. Na ingekuwa muhimu pia kama vigango hivyo vingeweza kutambuliwa na kuregeshwa, na zile nchi ambazo wako na hivyo vigango haviwafai saa hizi, ingekuwa wanaviregesha kwenye huko Afrika, kwenye nchi ambazo walivichukua hao wazungu wakati huo. Bwana Spika, bili hii pia ni muhimu sana, kwa sababu tumesema hapo awali, ukiwacha asili wewe utakuwa mtumwa. Ni kwamba kama Wamijikenda tuko na sherehe zetu ambazo tunazifanya za kiasili. Wakati mtoto akizaliwa ni wa kiume ama ni wa kike, tunaona kwamba akizaliwa mume, wazee ukaa, kina mama wanakaa, wanapika chakula, wazee wanakunywa ile vitu zao pale wakisherehekea mtoto wa kike, kama pombe ya mnazi, tunaketi chini, wazee wanakunywa hiyo na wanafurahi na wanazidi kuomba Mungu kiasili ya kwamba sasa kizoleo mtoto wa kike tumepata mali, kwa sababu akichukuliwa tutapata dowry. Huko uzunguni hakuna kitu kama hicho. Kwa hiyo culture kama hizo ni asili kama hizo ni muhimu kwetu. Ukizaa mvulana umezaa nguzo ama ngome kwa familia, na atakuwa ni familia kwa kila mtu katika hicho kijiji ama eneo hilo. Bwana Spika, mimi nataka pia kusema ya kwamba tuko na uasili wetu na ile wote kutoka sehemu mbalimbali. Bwana Spika, huwa tukienda kule Bomas of Kenya tunaona ya kwamba makabila yote pale, jinsi ya vile nyumba zinavyotengenezwa, ili sasa kwa sababu serikali yetu inafanya marekebisho, ingekuwa muhimu kuona kabila zote 40, sijui na ngapi sasa imefika 42, ndio tunastambua kama kabila. Kwa hiyo kila kabila pale, hata wale wa Makonde ambao walikubaliwa juzi, hata wale Wahindi ambao pia walikubaliwa juzi, wamekuwa kabila moja lao, pia hao waweze kuwekewa asili zao pale ndani, ili tukienda kama watoto wetu wakienda kule, watu wengine wakienda kule, wanaona kwamba hapa Bomas of Kenya ndio kuna ile tunaita kama cultural center ama mahali pa utamaduni wetu na uasili wetu wa Kenya. Vile vile Bwana Spika, nataka kuona nataka kusema ya kwamba bili hii nimeisoma kwa makini sana hapa, lakini shida ya hii bili ni kwamba kidogo tumepita mpaka na kuweza kumpatia waziri wa mambo ya asili mamlaka mengi sana. Bwana Spika, ukiangalia kama kule kwetu kuna wale wazee wa kaya. Wazee wa kaya wanayo mamlaka, lakini mamlaka yao pia si mengi. Tungependa kwamba hizi mamlaka ambayo yamepewa waziri ambaye atakuwa anaweza kubiliki hii wizara ya utamaduni, basi asipewe mamlaka mengi sana kama vile inavyoonekana hapa. Mengine mamlaka kama haya yapelekwe kwa wazee wa kaya kulinganishana na vile ambavyo tunaona, ama pia vile vile yapelekwe kwa serikali zetu za county. Ukiangalia sana, ukisoma hii bill utaona kwamba kipengele cha 5, cha 6, cha 9, cha 11, cha 12, 13, 14, hatimaye kipengele cha 15 kimeweza kumpatia waziri mamlaka mengi sana juu ya kukata shauri vile hali ya utamaduni itakavyoendeshwa katika sheria hii. Kwa hiyo tunasema kuna nia ya kwamba kwa maoni yangu naona kwamba asipewe mamlaka vile ambavyo hii bill iko. Kwa hiyo itabidi wakati fulani tuifanyie marekebisho ili iweze kufanana na asilia za wale watu ambao wanahusika katika hizi county na zile madhehebu yote ya makabila mbalimbali yaliyopo. Bwana Spika, nashukuru kwa kunipa nafasi hii. Asante sana.
Senator Zeno de Maletia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I rise to contribute to this culture bill, something that I'm very passionate and proud of, because I have served as a Commonwealth ambassador when I was reigning as Miss Commonwealth Kenya, and I served as a culture ambassador for the Commonwealth at large. And that continues to make me very proud to always speak and represent our beautiful culture within and without. Mr. Speaker, and sometimes I think I come from one of the most intricate cultures in Kenya, a culture that for a very long time has been held and applauded as the pride of Kenya, the Ma culture. And Mr. Speaker, it is important to note that the Ma in Kenya span over 10 counties. And yet, I agree with my brother, Senator Ledama, that we have been marginalized extremely for a very long time. It is very shameful, Mr. Speaker, that the culture that is upheld as the pride of Kenya globally in the face of Kenya still faces serious discrimination and marginalization within our borders. Mr. Speaker, sometimes I look at our history and the history of Kenya at large. There is a lot of misinformation that has reshaped our history, consequently affecting our culture. Mr. Speaker, what the history we depend on today and we pass down to our young generations in school is the history that was written by the white man, the British, the colonialist. And they took away the most prized possessions and parts of our culture, leaving a shell and a scale behind. That is why you see a lot of Kenyan communities with a very diluted or almost extinct culture, because in the name of embracing modernity. Mr. Speaker, I remember one national leader, or whom I thought so, at one point alleging that we should not touch Mount Kenya. And Mr. Speaker, there is a need to know that Mount Kenya actually belongs to the Maasai, to the Ma. That is why the peaks of Mount Kenya are named after our kings, Olonana, Mbatian, and the rest. They are buried there. So this means Mount Kenya is our heritage. If anybody should say it should not be touched, it should be the Maasai, Mr. Speaker. And alongside with that, there is also another misrepresentation in our history about the Maasai collaborating with the colonizers. Mr. Speaker, from history passed down to me by my great-grandfathers who are leading the battlefront, in fact, they speak of being asked to pull huge trailers and trucks that belong to the colonialists using their pierced earlobes. How does that sound like a collaborator, Mr. Speaker? Again, there is a history of traces of the Maasai everywhere, and as a good student of history, I became very curious about history when I was in Form 2. And I was this very restless child in school, trying to dig more than what is being taught in school. And it is here that I discovered the Nilotes and Kushites arrived in Kenya way before. So if anybody, before the Bantus came from the Congo forest, if anybody should play a central role in determining our culture and rewriting the true and proper history of Kenya, it should be these two groups of people. Mr. Speaker, and I love our beautiful country because Kenya is a diverse country with over 70 different ethnic communities with very diverse and beautiful cultures. The Ma, for example, are recognized through our intricate beadwork. Mr. Speaker, I am a member of a group of the Ma that has tried to get a patented license for our beads, a copyright for us to own our beads and our shuka. Shockingly, Mr. Speaker, these beads and shukas are owned by the Chinese and patented by the Chinese. Mr. Speaker, the first trace of beads and beadwork globally is in Israel. And this was over 120,000 years, where the Israelite people, the Israelites would make beads from clay, from shell, from seeds of trees and bones, Mr. Speaker. The second, and I believe Israel is in Africa, the second trace of beads is in Egypt, around 5,000 BCE. And here they would make beads using clay. Hezena, growing up and properly raised as a Samburu girl in the village. I remember when we were young, before it was easy to access the cities and buy the glass beads from China, we were taught as a young Samburu girl, you are raised to make your own individual beads, and we would melt plastic, and there's a way we make beads from plastic. There are special seeds from trees that we use to make beads. But at what point did these Chinese overtake us that they patent something that they also know belongs to Africa? We need to do something about this collectively, not just as a country, but as Africa at large. We need to take back our rights and our heritage. Mr. Speaker, the Maasai have named almost every town in Kenya. Nairobi, for example, Nairobi and Kare, the cold waters. KICC, for instance, used to be the watering ground for the Maasai livestock. State House, where our president stays, used to be the manyata, or what we call the boma. That is the shelter for our cows. Mr. Speaker, misinformation has continually dented the rights of the Maa community across Kenya. And there is need to include this community, especially the elders, the bestorers of our national heritage, when national conversations about our heritage and culture are being held. The Njuri Njeke need to be part of this. The Maasai Council of Elders, which is a very organized body, needs to be included to ensure that there is no more continuous exploitation of our people while the world prides with our culture. There is need to channel resources for these purposes. Mr. Speaker, we must give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. When it comes to corporates, we have seen a lot of our photos of our women being exploited, even by our national carrier, the Kenya Airways. The lady I see there has existed in the poster for years. I am very sure if she's a Maasai, she has not been paid her dues. Yet as a former model, Mr. Speaker, I know there is a budget for somebody to use your face for commercial purposes. Mr. Speaker, when it also comes to government institutions, we have the Bomas of Kenya, which we have all agreed should be the melting point for all our Kenyan cultures. I am so embarrassed, Mr. Speaker, that the Bomas of Kenya has women from other Bantu communities dancing as Maasai women, when these women could actually represent their culture and get the Maasai women to represent their culture. What did this lead to? At one time, there was a Dubai Expo where Bomas of Kenya sent representatives together with the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. And to my shock, I saw women jumping in Dubai, dressed in a Maasai woman's regalia. My culture, Mr. Speaker, does not allow me as a Maa woman to jump. And that is misinformation and misrepresentation and also cultural appropriation, Mr. Speaker. There was a time the Vogue, one of the largest fashion firm, used women from Achas Post Samburu as models, these tall, exotic, naturally beautiful, exotic women. They used them on the cover. I am sure if it was a model who's well informed about the use of her image for commercial purposes, they would have paid a lot. But what did they do? They flew their first-class flight down to Africa to exploit our women, taking their photos because they could not pay anything. And they knew they did not have this information to be able to be paid as a model to appear in Vogue. And Mr. Speaker, just for you to know, to appear in Vogue, you have to be paid millions of money as a model. So they couldn't go for Kendall Jenner. They chose our local women so that they can exploit them for free. This needs to be addressed. Mr. Speaker, there is also bits of our culture that are being misrepresented locally and globally. And there are very beautiful parts of our culture that I would love to applaud. When it comes to polygamy, for example, people just talk about, oh, you Samburus, Maasais are marrying too many wives, but they have no clue that everything in our community is structured from marriage to polygamy to death to divorce, everything. They are very intricate parts of our culture that I will just wish to tell my fellow Kenyans. If they watch us doing it, they should just applaud it from a distance and say, that is fine. For example, a poor man cannot be polygamous in our community. You have to have the proper resources, the right resources, to be able to satisfy both 1 or 20 women. And each must be economically strengthened, just as the other. So it's no cause to say that our people are poor because they are marrying too much. You will never find a poor man who is taking another wife. We have a beautiful parts of our culture, especially when it comes to the circumcision of boys, Mr. Speaker. It is very hard to get a Maasai man who has gone through the proper rites of passage, behaving in a certain way. Why? For men to go through circumcision, they go first of all to fetch water. It's a special event. They go collect gum, Arabica from trees. It's a special event. This whole time, they are taken to the forest and taught about how to behave like men and graduate from boyhood to manhood. And that is why you can find a very young Maasai man who is behaving more manly than a whole man from another community, Mr. Speaker. And when it comes also to the beadwork, we have heard about something called beading for girls. But let me just take this opportunity today to explain what that means. While there are instances of early child marriages, it is a very streamlined process in the sense that it's been a battle between the authorities and our cultural custodians to ensure that child marriage is eradicated in Samburu. But, Mr. Speaker, there is a need to make sure that the two collaborate, the elders and the law makers collaborate to make sure that they have a law that is favorable for both parties, in the sense that there are so many communities globally that engage girls at a young age, but this engagement is very streamlined in the sense that you might not have intimate relations between the girl who is engaged and the man who is engaged. Because in our culture, during the engagement process, there should not be any intimacy between the two partners. In fact, if a girl is too young, the mother-in-law has to take care of that child or that girl until she comes of age. Sometimes when she's past the age of 18 and she's old enough to carry a baby. Mr. Speaker, there is also the beautiful part where women are the custodians of praying for the community in the Samburu culture. The work of praying for a community is for a Samburu woman. It is very hard to get a Samburu woman who is heartless, in the sense that they believe that God listens to the prayers of a woman. Probably that is why Jesus Christ had to come to earth through a woman. Mr. Speaker, we have Samburu women who go to the mountains to pray for the rain. And miraculously, every time they do this, we always have rain. Mr. Speaker, there are also instances of abuse of our culture, misrepresentation and disrespect to our culture. We have many communities in Kenya have lost touch with their culture. There are many communities we know. We might say we have cultures, but some of them we are just seeing a resuscitation of dead cultures, of which we greatly applaud. Some vices like LGBTQ, Mr. Speaker, things like GBV. If you go back to history, most African cultures are completely against these things. Men today have diverted from their sole role of protection and providing. What are we finding today? People who have no shame that they can actually beat and kill their wives just because they are a weaker gender. A lot of times when you do a proper investigation, and these people come to social media to hang out their dirty linen, a lot of times when you do a proper background check, Mr. Speaker, there is always a problem with the history and origin of that person, especially how they were raised. There are always some loopholes as far as how this person was brought up. Either they were brought up without any culture or social norms that they were told this is a red line, you must not go beyond this, or sometimes you might find that none of the parents even bothered to teach these people that this is how you do. And this is why I greatly appreciate my late party leader, Baba Raila Odinga, because I remember one time some people were trying to malign my name for some useless things, you know, Mr. Speaker, and disrespecting the fact that I had utmost honor for the elders of my community, and I have no apologies for listening to their advice, by the way. And when I went to see my party leader, all he told me is that, my daughter, don't worry, because I know the Maasai culture. I know a Maa girl would never do that. And that really encouraged me. And I believe this is why he was able to interact with everybody, both in opposition and in government. Because first of all, he knew a person's identity, character, and personality are greatly shaped by their culture and how they were brought up. Many people today live with boundaries as in respect of how they were brought up. Mr. Speaker, we have issues to do with another social vice is extravagance. We have seen cultures here that are prioritizing too much money during marriages. You are telling somebody's son to bring 4 million, 5 million to marry your daughter. What for? Are you purchasing this girl, or are you supposed to give your girl to somebody who will honor and respect them? It looks like a trade. But in some cultures, like my culture, the Maa culture, dowry has never changed. Whether you are rich or poor, it is strictly 8 cows in the Samburu, and it depends. There are some things that might be topped up depending on the kind of family the girl comes from. Like in my instance, I come from a royal lineage. So in the event that somebody must marry me, there is need for a thorough background check. For so many things, Mr. Speaker. If that family has a social vice or a debt that they have not taken care of, my family will not accept it. If they have killed somebody, my family will not accept it. If they did not go through the proper rites of passage, my family will not accept it. And this is guided by the culture. And this is why I proudly wear my Samburu beads, to remind people that besides being a tough, powerful, empowered girl, at the core of me is a properly raised Samburu girl who will not take any nonsense. Mr. Speaker, last but not least, there is also need to ensure that when we come up with economic models, we take care of the needs of these pastoral communities. I have had many people telling us, why are you Maa people following cows? Why are the Samburu following cows? You should have alternative rites of passage. Mr. Speaker, but I do not know any other life that is not directly putting me sentimentally attached to the cow. Mr. Speaker, we cannot talk about where I am today without speaking about how many bulls my father has had to sell for me to go to school. I cannot talk about me today without remembering the hides and skin that I used as my mattress growing up. We cannot talk about who I am today without thinking about the shoes we make from a goat skin or a cow skin directly. Our culture is so intricate in the sense that we and the cow are inseparable. And when the country is making decisions on economic models that we must use, these custodians...
You have successfully used your 20 minutes. Congratulations. Senator Tabitha Mutinda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Allow me to start by appreciating the majority leader for this particular bill, Mr. Speaker. Comes at a very critical time. It's timely, Mr. Speaker. A conversation that is ripe as far as both our culture, the African beautiful culture that we pride in as an African country, compared to the Western culture, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I proceed, I want to put on record that I come from the great culture of the Kamba community, and we pride in different cultural perspectives and policies that before I was born, Mr. Speaker, I found them in existence and have been nurtured and brought up under the same cultures, and hence the product of a Mutinda factor, Mr. Speaker. Culture, Mr. Speaker, is the foundation of a national identity. As a country, Mr. Speaker, we cut across different cultures, more than 42 cultures, Mr. Speaker, that bring together a national unity because we pride in sharing our different cultures, Mr. Speaker. I've just perused the bill, Mr. Speaker, and yes, and I want to agree we have different cultures. That is intangible and tangible cultures, Mr. Speaker. And looking at the tangible cultures, Mr. Speaker, the last time we were in the great county of Busia, I joined the Committee of Trade, and we were able to come across historical sites that apparently carried a lot of rich culture, but the county had not really put so much in terms of how to generate revenue from these tangible cultural and historical sites, Mr. Speaker. As a community, Mr. Speaker, as a Kamba community, we pride in our artificial artifacts, like, for example, the carvings that the Kamba community does do very well, among many other things, Mr. Speaker. And you know, as Kamba women, Mr. Speaker, as I continue and talk about the intangible cultural aspects, Mr. Speaker, apart from the arts and the music, as Kamba women, Mr. Speaker, naturally, and I say naturally, biologically, Mr. Speaker, we pride in our nature of womanhood, Mr. Speaker. The married men to the Kamba women can attest, Mr. Speaker, because it is out there, Mr. Speaker. And these are cultures, as Kamba women, we continue priding in and continue teaching our young girls on the same values and ensuring that they continue enhancing the same, Mr. Speaker. The bill has really focused on what the minister is going to do, Mr. Speaker. This House, Mr. Speaker, we support devolution. A lot of responsibility has been left to the minister, unlike being handled at a county level, Mr. Speaker. Section 15, Section 14, Mr. Speaker, has used an English word that talks about or, whereby where the cabinet secretary or the county government refuses, where does this leave to these two bodies, Mr. Speaker? And I would want the secretary to really put this and note this, that when a bill is much more of what the county can do or the minister can do, then both of them are at leeway to be able to bring out their own perspectives. And so we will be having two bodies that will keep on bringing about their own different views instead of narrowing this particular mandate to the specific body. And that body should be none other than the county government through the Department of the Ministry of Trade within that particular specific counties. Some of these decisions should be narrowed. It's only yes that at the point that this has been passed, the minister should be informed, should be aware of what each and every county has been able to settle for as far as their cultural heritage is concerned, Mr. Speaker, because this bill not only brings in the value of the culture that we need to enhance, but also from where we sit as senators who support devolution, and also personally from where I sit as a Vice Chair of Finance and Budget, I look at the revenue, Mr. Speaker, in the end goal, whereby then we are going to ensure that also counties are able to generate value from these both intangible and tangible values of the culture, be it the sites that are in place, enhancing the cultural heritage within those different counties. We need to have where the counties have an opportunity to set aside a small budget to be able to continue showcasing the different traditions and cultures that are within those particular county. The essence of devolution was not only for monies and revenue to just trickle down, but it is a high time that for the different 47 counties to be able to bring out and to nurture out culture. But the question comes in very uniquely. Nairobi County, where I represent, Mr. Speaker, where does it fall? Of course, it's a cosmopolitan, carries across the different cultures. And yes, we are privileged to have different sites and different museums that cut across, that carry the heritage of this country. For example, the Kenya Museum, we have the Karen Brixen, Mr. Speaker. We have the Nairobi National Museum, among others. But these are very few, Mr. Speaker. Across the country, we have very few cultural sites. You find that children from the great county, or students from the great county of Turkana, will have to travel all the way to this city to see the same Kamba cultural pride, you know, all the way they have to travel. Why can that be devolved to that particular region? Because, Mr. Speaker, where we are in 2026, we're having a lot of intermarriage, which is encouraged, Mr. Speaker. And so it becomes better. And history is still a subject in our basic education. So when this is narrowed down at the county level, it brings value, not only as an economic aspect, but also an empowering aspect through the education system, whereby apart from learning, because we learned a lot of cultures, Mr. Speaker, when we did history, but it is a high time, Mr. Speaker, for us to be able to continue enhancing the culture, to be able to bring it at the education level back to our schools and those particular regions through the counties. All these expenses that parents have to pay, that a trip has to be undertaken all the way from different counties back to Nairobi, and sometimes some parents are not able to afford. So what happens to that kid that has not had an opportunity or a privilege to come and look at the different cultures that they have to be taught and learn in school, Mr. Speaker? Cultures that today, Mr. Speaker, we continue priding in. You know, as a community, we pride in the bow and arrow. The Maasai community will pride in the Maasai attire. As an African, we also pride in the Kitenge attire, among many other things, Mr. Speaker. This goes a long way, Mr. Speaker. But look at where we are. Our children are walking half naked. What's the problem? Have we faded completely away this culture? Have we ignored it? Have we allowed it? At times when you walk about and you see what our young people and how sometimes they are dressed, Mr. Speaker, it is sad. But when we use this opportunity to instill the cultural values, Mr. Speaker, then it goes a long way for them and becomes much more impactful, Mr. Speaker. The same culture, Mr. Speaker, when we look years back, we've had even traditional medicine, traditional agricultural systems, Mr. Speaker, that have gone a long way, that have also been good, but we've so much invested in what is so much Western to a point that we've forgotten where we've come from. The current curriculum system has not forgotten, but it is trying to be practical, but not really showing the examples of it. The examples can only be shown that when we allow and continue supporting this bill, it should be nurtured and brought about from the county level. If then this is not done, Mr. Speaker, you find that it will not be able to impact what it needs to impact. It's not about just the revenue aspect of it, Mr. Speaker. It is more into what we instill to our generation. Mr. Speaker, as you're seated there, as a Meru man, Mr. Speaker, you have your culture. Today you cannot enter your mother's house or your mother's kitchen. It is your culture because that's how a Meru man has been brought. That is true. But look at our children today, Mr. Speaker. We've given them probably the modern education. What about the culture? If you and me as a parents do not instill the same, where do we leave them? Where do we leave their faith? When we encourage this to go down at the county level and really remove a lot of these ministerial responsibilities, these ministers have got a lot to do. One of our colleagues, Senator Ledama, talked about the 30% for minerals. It's a matter that where I sit, these monies have not, through the Ministry of Finance, they have not been really reimbursed back to these counties. This is what the minister should be able to deal with. But when it comes to the matters of culture, let the counties be able to continue, because at these counties is where we have also the local leaders who automatically understand when we talk about culture, where does it come from? It sits well when these men and women from the different regions are able to continue promoting that particular culture, because they've been also given an opportunity, Mr. Speaker. We've seen whereby, today as we speak, Mr. Speaker, what saddens me is the fact that we have the law, for example, the Marriage Act 2014, which clearly stipulates that marriage should only take place for 2 over 18 man and woman in this country, Mr. Speaker. This law is in place, but there are cultures, Mr. Speaker, that have still allowed early childhood marriages, Mr. Speaker. So where is the problem? Is the problem the law or the problem the culture, Mr. Speaker? It is at this particular opportunity when we shall allow the cultural bill or to be invested at the county level that shall help, especially the specific counties, Mr. Speaker, looking at Narok, Kajiado, looking at Samburu, and even some parts of Migori where FGM is being practiced today. And the law is very clear, even on matters FGM. FGM is not allowed in this country. But we have cultures that are still undertaking this. The question is, where is the problem? We have, when we say and encourage that these particular local leaders to be part of the leadership of the cultural committee or whatever it is, they are the best ambassadors, Mr. Speaker, today to be able to ensure that this animal called early marriages comes to an end. I mean, I sometimes I don't even understand. Our 70-year-old, has guts, Mr. Speaker. Has guts, Mr. Speaker, to put a 10-year-old in bed. It's a shame. And then you want to say it is culture, Mr. Speaker. How parents would agree to let their beautiful God-given daughter, who's created in the image of God, Mr. Speaker, to undergo a knife cutting in the name of FGM, in the name of culture, Mr. Speaker. Where do you leave that part? For this conversation, for the Marriage Act in terms of early childhood marriage, and the Child Act, Mr. Speaker, of 2022 that protects children, Mr. Speaker. It is this cultural bill that is going to have an impact on ensuring the safety of the girl child, Mr. Speaker, is protected, Mr. Speaker, because the law is very clear. I've heard one of our colleagues talk about culture, and I'm happy Senator Tobiko is still around in this house, because I've had a submission that some cultures, you cannot marry a woman if then your history is tainted or has got some question marks, Mr. Speaker. Then I ask, where is the boy child, Mr. Speaker? We've empowered the girl child so much and left the life and the future of the boy child at risk. Why am I saying this, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, I believe you are a father of sons. And then, you've shown me the finger of 3. Congratulations. You can imagine your son having dated this particular beautiful girl for years and years. And in the end result, and then in Nairobi we say, Murembo amekula fair. For the longest period of time. And then eventually you tell this boy child, you know what, boy? I mean, this cannot continue because in your family, this happened. But then why did you not tell me in advance? Why did you not tell me so that this cannot continue? I've invested so much, my time, my money, my everything to you. And then in the end result you tell me. I mean, if these cultures, some of them are like this, and it's good we're having this conversation so as to know, Mr. Speaker. I'm a mother too. I would not want lack of this knowledge, so it is prominent, it is key. As I conclude, Mr. Speaker, it is going to give the counties an all-source revenue maximization when these cultural sites are invested in these different counties. It would be a source. So that when we're doing division of revenue, I mean, we're going to look at the different on-source revenues for this particular county. And of course, as I speak, because I sit in the finance committee, I'm always looking, not in the finance committee, Mr. Speaker, you know I'm a businesswoman. So I will always look at everything on how this 1 shilling is going to make another 2 shillings. And of course, I'm from the city. We didn't come here to count cars. We need to make revenue. So, of course, I look at this bill giving an opportunity to counties to be able to maximize on their own revenue. As I conclude, Mr. Speaker, very quickly, first I want to appreciate the Meru culture, Mr. Speaker, and I'm a proud, and I continue being a proud daughter of the Kamba community. So much I'd like to encourage men to settle on the women from the Kamba community. I think you'll not have made any mistake. And with those many and few, as I conclude 14 and 15, Mr. Speaker, let the Secretariat be able to note that we are really not agreeing on the issue of the minister taking a lot of these responsibilities that should be done and at the county level. With those many, asanteni sana, I submit.
Very well. Unfortunately, I didn't hear you talk about the male culture. I'm a bit worried. Okay. We have noted that with a lot of concern. Senator Wakwabubi Consolata.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity to contribute towards this culture bill sponsored by...
Just a minute, Senator Consolata. Just a minute. Approve the chair. Honorable Senators, we are suspending the sitting for 3 minutes. And then we'll be back, Senator Consolata, to proceed.
Honorable Senators, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed, Senator Consolata.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for according me this opportunity to contribute towards the bill sponsored by Senator Aaron Cheriot, our leader of majority. And I want to concur with the rest of the speakers, the 4 speakers, on their contributions about the bill. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge that culture is a very important aspect to each one of us because it gives us identity, it shows us our way of life, the social interactions, the values, the institutions, and even the roots from which we stem from. And a lot has been presented concerning the powers that are bestowed upon the Cabinet Secretary, and I too feel like too much has been given to the Cabinet Secretary, considering the fact that maybe some of our colleagues or the Cabinet Secretary was picked based on meritocracy, and maybe his or her roots are not even from, or he or she doesn't even know her cultural identity very well, or she or he has not grasped the grassroots identity very well according to the cultural aspects. It's not that I'm disparaging the Cabinet Secretary on that, but I want to say that this can be given a lot to the cultural practitioners and the grassroots holders, the people who have a lot in so far as culture is concerned. If you look at that bill, there is an item, I think it should be item 18, if my memory serves me right. It talks of an archaeological heritage person, whoever discovers that, to be given a license by the Cabinet Secretary